Am I the asshole for being dismissive and nonchalant about a possible weird legal punishment, despite my girlfriend's concerns? So I admittedly commit a few minor crimes now and then. Nothing that I nor my girlfriend consider really that bad from a moral perspective, so I'll leave out the crime details since it's not really too relevant, since that's not her real concern. I have been caught a couple of times before. Both times I got a slap on the wrist, but I was warned that if it ever happened again, I would most likely get this weird punishment we have here. I'm in a smallish Eastern European city. Moved back here with my dad from the US at 18 after parents split up, called a mucking. So the punishment is called mucking. A mucking. A mucking is basically when they take you to this large hog farm outside of town, sit you in the corner of a barn and cuff you, pour a few wheelbarrows of hog manure over you, and let you sit in it for a few hours. 2 hours to basically all day, depending on your crime, to suffer and to reflect on what you did. Then you're pretty much free. I'm aware of this possibility, but I really don't want to stop committing these acts, and it's taken them 2 years to catch me 2 times, so I bet I have another year or 2 before I even get caught again. Sure, then I get mucked, but whatever, I'll just shower after, right? I mean, it's a 1-day punishment. It sounds so much lighter than what I would face in the US for a similar thing that it might as well just be a joke. That's sort of how I view it. Plus, as I understand it, it's sort of a semi-official thing, like a plea bargain, where it's not quite formally written into the law, but the officers and prosecutors threaten you with serious charges, but offer you this as a deal to avoid the hassle of court and prison and all of that, if you own up to your crime and agree to your mucking. So it's not like I'd even have trouble getting a job afterwards. So I don't know, that's kind of how I view it. Why would I stop doing stuff I enjoy for a chance to have one unpleasant day sometime in the next couple of years? My girlfriend, on the other hand, does not see it that way. She knows of the warning that I've gotten and is horrified, and saying, "You're bound to get caught again sometime. You've been caught twice. How could you even think about risking this? Are you crazy?" I also live at her place, and she's acting like I'll stink up her house if this happens. Or as she says, when this happens, not if. But I said that I'll just shower a ton if worse comes to worse, and could even shower before I even step in the house if she's really so worried. It's not like she'll have to come to the farm with me. It's only me who would suffer, right? She also just acts really concerned for my well-being if this were to happen, and says that I don't want this for you. This is terrible. Have you ever even been to a farm? You don't know what you're asking for. I mean, to be fair, I haven't, but I've been to a horse stable once in the US where people were gagging, and I was mostly okay. So I think I'm pretty okay with that sort of thing. And it's not really about the disease risk. I told her that from what I know, the animals are well monitored for diseases at these sort of farms, and it's not meant to make you long-term sick or anything. No one ever dies from this. She says she gets that, but there's worse things than the disease risk about this. You're not getting how unbearable this would be for 5 minutes, let alone 5 hours. I told her that she hasn't been to a farm either, so how does she know anyways? She says this is true, but she knows enough to know this is hell, and hopes someone else can convince me not to be so flippant about this, and to actually stop my crimes to avoid this for both of our sake. I figure I at least owe her the chance to let someone else try to convince me, lol. Am I so wrong here? Remember, it's not about the moral question of the crimes here. Both of us agree that's fine. It's about me respecting her wishes for me not to risk this. Would you guys tell me anything she hasn't to help me realize the error of my ways, or see the light about this and stop risking it, or does my position make sense? In the comments, Guilty Thought Pop says, OP, you're 20, you're young, and you're an idiot. Like, no shit being covered in pig shit isn't that big of a deal. It's the fact that your girlfriend doesn't want to be with someone who's been covered in pig shit for petty crimes. Let me put it how we'd say it in the States. Dude, you're acting like an effing loser. A woman isn't going to want a man who can't even control himself to not get in trouble for committing crimes. You'd be surprised. You'd be very surprised. Just grow up, friend, or let the woman find a more mature man. Simple as. Sorry, what Americans are saying simple as? Hard for me to say without knowing what the crime is. Unless you're doing the crime for the sake of survival, why are you even taking a risk? Why is this crime worth so much to you that you would do it in spite of your girlfriend asking you to stop? I don't think you're necessarily the asshole, but she definitely isn't. She may be really turned off by the thought of you readily accepting that being done to you when avoiding the possibility of it is as easy as not committing a crime. Also, she may be worried about this becoming a bigger problem down the road. Maybe your nonchalant demeanor makes her worry that you start doing more problematic crimes. And wouldn't she be embarrassed if her friends and/or family found out you've been committing petty crimes and got mucked? American here, don't know the past tense term for a muckin'. She's expressing her concern over it. Wouldn't it be best to just compromise with her and just refrain from doing it? I'm just trying to control myself from laughing. It just feels like a shitpost. Pardon my French. Pun intended. Like, how can you be so clueless that you're like, man, I just can't control myself from doing these petty crimes. Is it worth being mugged? You know what, we're all gonna die one day, so you make sure you fill your life with as much petty crime as possible before you die. I mean, yes, you're the asshole OP, but you're also an absolute specimen. And now, on to the update. So I lasted a good few months, but I did get caught again. I am set to receive this punishment. 8 hours at the hog farm covered in manure. I guess I should have seen this coming. Edit, I explained the punishment. Mucking more in the original post. So you're like restrained and then covered in manure for the duration of the punishment? It's not a day working at the barn. You just have to sit and lay there and the wheelbarrows of it are poured over you. Still a bit reluctant to share exactly what the crime is publicly since it's kind of embarrassing, and then everyone's gonna focus on that instead of my predicament with my girlfriend. It does feel a lot more real to me now. I guess before it seemed like this hypothetical that may or may not happen, and I wasn't going to change my behavior for a hypothetical. But now it feels like, wow, this is happening 100%. You're so unhinged. It might sound crazy, but I still wasn't really all that horrified when I got caught again though. I'm unhappy with the police and law here for resorting to such means to try to make me stop doing something that I just don't think is all that bad. So I sort of want to just be stubborn and show them that, whatever, I'll take this and make it through it. It's only 6 hours. Whatever. I'll stink for a bit and just move on. You can't use this as a means to scare me. But what's scaring me more is how everyone in my life is acting freaked out and horrified for me. My girlfriend bawled when she found out. She said she urged me so many times and that she didn't want this for me and can't believe this is happening. She's been frantic and doesn't know what to do. She's not only worried about me stinking up the house after, but she's worried it'll traumatize me and I won't be the same person after. I said that's ridiculous. It's manure. It stinks. It's not going to ruin my life. But she just cried and said, I'm so clueless, and she just wishes I could have listened. My parents found out, and my mum cried too. Even my friends, the 2 close ones I've told, seemed genuinely worried for me, like, you were warned twice. How could anyone be crazy enough to risk actually getting that punishment? The threat usually works well enough to get people to stop. I told one that I just didn't want to change my behavior and let them threaten me with this, and how I want to prove to them that it won't work on me, and said, how long do you think I can last without showing them it's getting to me? At least 30 minutes? An hour or 2? And he looked at me dumbfounded and said, what are you talking about? How long can you last? Less than 5 seconds. No one could. Are you crazy? There's a reason people don't risk this. I remember a lot of people on here telling me that I'm super naive and I'm screwed if I ever get this. I hope they're all wrong, but it's scary how everyone around me is acting like my world is ending. It did activate my instinct to be stubborn and resilient, but sometimes I lack the ability to accurately imagine a situation I haven't been in. Yeah, it's very obvious, dude. I couldn't tell. I don't know how linked that is to some of my neuro and mental issues or what, but I guess I'm about to find out. I don't really have any life experience that shows me how a foul smell, which everyone seemed or does seem to focus on the main aspect here, can be a horrifying experience or punishment, but maybe it can be. In the comments, Plantibodies says, OP, I say this with as much compassion as possible, but it sounds like you have some sort of mental deficiency that has gone unaddressed and that you aren't aware of. Yes, you are wrong, have zero impulse control, and seem like an embarrassment to be around. I think you're underestimating what this will be like. First of all, you will be handcuffed, which means you can't really get it off you. Pig shit is also not like human shit. It won't be a few turds. It'll be a chunky gruel that will go in every orifice, and you won't be able to get it off. The smell will start out horrible, and you will most likely puke, meaning that you will sit in a combination of pig shit and your own puke. But you also get used to the smell, or rather your nose will settle after a while. But then you'll notice the itching and burning. Manure isn't just shit, it's also piss, and that's acidic. Not very, but after some time it'll start to irritate your skin. You will survive this, but don't go in thinking you're Billy Badass and will just breeze through it. And yeah, the crime was petty theft. He's just swiping Snicker bars from supermarkets. Bro cannot control himself from doing petty theft. Every day I wake up and I'm itching to feel my kleptomania. Please God, I cannot heckin' wait to be covered in pig shit. It is so heckin' fun. I will continue my spree of petty theft. They will never find me. Posted by user Turbulent Context, titled, Am I the asshole for wanting to be intimate with my wife? I, male 28, dated my wife, let's call her Rena, female 26, for 3 years before we got married, and during that time, she made it known that she would like to remain a virgin until our marriage. We both met in a religious event and are both church-going and religious, so this was not a problem. She is an overall wonderful person, the most caring, loving, and sweetest wife that I could ever have, and not to mention beautiful as well. She takes care of me, and even took some time off to care for my mother when she was in the hospital due to a car accident, and has no problem with babysitting my sister's kids, 5 and 7, who love her very much. Everyone tells me how lucky I am, and I feel the same. We've been married for 4 months now, and live together in my apartment. Her grandma had been sick for years, and her dying wish was to see Rena get married before she passes. Rena is the only girl among 8 cousins, so she was very special and close to her grandparents. Knowing this, I proposed to her as her whole family and mine have basically become one, and it was a no-brainer at that point. We got married in the courthouse within a week after knowing about the prognosis. We went straight to the hospital and had a small party there with her since she had a private room and the hospital staff allowed it. Sadly, she passed about 17 days later. Later that night, after getting to the hotel from the wedding, she tells me she thinks we should wait until we marry in church because she considers this marriage legal, but not anointed by God, and is not right. We cuddle, kiss, but then when it gets heated, she stops me midway and tells me the time will come and we will enjoy it. Our families are planning a big church wedding for us in April when we will be fully yoked, but I don't know how I could wait that long. It's terribly uncomfortable cuddling in bed with her and wanting to make love with her knowing that I can't. She moved in with me in my 1-bedroom apartment a month after our marriage, so it's been 3 months now of cohabiting temporarily before we moved to a bigger place. I feel that we are in every way a married couple. Not newlyweds, but more like an old couple because of a lacking in the intimacy department. We do groceries together, clean, cook, take care of each other, except that. She says she believes our first time will be special since we will have it during our honeymoon in Spain right after the wedding. We both have been a big fan of Spain. Anyway, the other night we were watching a movie and started kissing that gradually ended up getting more heated. She stops me after some time, and we had an argument because, yes, I know I was in the wrong and didn't control myself well. I guess I should have asked what marriage and sex really meant to her before proposing, instead of assuming, but I also think that I'm being deprived of something so important in a relationship. She didn't speak to me for 2 days, and just a while ago, we had an honest conversation and have decided that she should move back in with her parents until our actual church wedding in April. We originally thought living together since we were legally married would be a good start at knowing each other, but I guess this is for the best. I still have this nagging feeling in my head. Am I the asshole for wanting intimacy with my wife? Also, I never once forced myself on her. Everything we do is consensual, and I always stop as soon as she says no because I respect her. I guess I'm just frustrated most of all, and I want to know if I'm an asshole for feeling this way. In the comments, Initial Bi says, "Have you two discussed sex after marriage? Not in a vague way, but real expectations." A previous commenter said her issues with sex will not magically disappear after a church wedding, and they are right. She may only want sex for procreation, which isn't unheard of in some deeply religious people. Can you live with that for the rest of your life? Sex only when she's trying for children, not while she's pregnant, not until she's ready to have another child. Decades of a sexless marriage after she's past child-rearing years. Be honest with yourself and communicate your expectations with her, and ask her to communicate hers to you. Will her beliefs and wishes allow her to meet your needs, or will this be a miserable union for the both of you? Edit to add, not the asshole for your desire, but you will be if you don't sit down and hash out expectations. You are clearly not on the same page right now. OP replies, yes, she is very honest and is actually very curious about sex, and even talks about how much this is a very spiritual connection. But she really would like us to be wed in the church and have our marriage be blessed. Reach a compromise. Have a small, intimate wedding with your pastor, the best man, and the maid of honor in your church. It will be ordained by God. Then have the big wedding in April. Problem solved. Sort of. By the way, you should at least be prepared for the fact that some women like this get so ingrained in saying no that they never feel okay with saying yes. They have been so conditioned that sex is dirty and sinful that they never ever recover. Just a warning. I will add a cautionary tale. A buddy of mine in college, who was a bit of a ladies' man, got into a relationship with a debutante who wouldn't have sex until after marriage. He agreed to wait, and then after they got married, he discovered that she hated sex. Every time they did it, she would cry. He spent many a lonely night swimming laps in their unheated pool until finally he threw in the towel and they got a divorce. Just something to think about. Yup, my wife is that way. 10 years of marriage and she still gets panic attacks after climax. I think it's more than just Catholic guilt. There is other underlying issues, SSRIs being one of them, and hormonal imbalances due to IVF and the pill. But she has had this since we dated. It doesn't go away without a lot of therapy. Back up to the post, there is an edit. Thanks everyone for your feedback. I was reading everything and appreciate your points. I do want to point out that we are not getting divorced or annulled, and I know I have no right to force her into anything. I just want to let out how I feel. Also, like I mentioned in the comments, we would like a larger wedding, although it takes longer to plan since her and my relatives are available in April and have already taken PTO. I will wait for her, of course, and I value her virtues and how strong she is with her principles. We didn't talk about sex before the courthouse wedding, I guess because we both had differing assumptions on the relationship, and despite her wanting the church wedding before we moved in, she offered to move in as a compromise since she knows what she's asking is also not easy. I don't think another small gathering is necessary, because at this point, it'll all just be for show and takes away the uniqueness of the church wedding and the feelings involved if we had too many wedding-related events. I want her to feel special on that day because she is, and to feel like how a bride does on that one special day. Legally though, she has started using my surname because she acknowledges we are married, but that our church wedding will wed us in all ways. We had the courthouse wedding, but didn't invite our minister because, as I mentioned, we want the church wedding to be our big and special day only. What I meant by not controlling myself is my frustration, not necessarily my desires to take it further. Also, her parents have never told us we had to wait for our church wedding. They consider us married already. I guess for my wife, it's more the symbolism of marrying in church and for the honeymoon to be in every sense of the word. Having sex and then going on a honeymoon defeats the purpose, and I also think it would be great to do it then. We fly to Spain the next day after the wedding, and I don't think we would even have the energy for anything the night of the church wedding. She is not asexual as well, just to clear things up. I know everyone doesn't believe in abstinence or applying Bible principles in life, and I understand that, but I request to please respect ours. Right now, she'll be staying with her parents, but we're planning on talking more to a counselor as well as our minister if we could change any arrangements if needed about our thoughts on sex and our unique circumstance. Thanks. And now on to the update. So it's been a while since I posted about my situation with my wife, and I just want to give a little update. I talked to Rena the day after I posted and talked about what exactly is holding her back and if she has any concerns. She could open up to me and talk about it like a married couple, if she even considered us one. She told me she had seen the post and had actually read a lot of the comments that you guys posted and realized it stems from her feeling everything was so rushed and it was not how she expected to get married in her head and what comes after that. She wanted to make her nana happy, but at my expense. It dawned on her after our small party in the hospital how she didn't feel ready for it because she didn't feel married, thus letting me know later on that she wanted to wait. She has apologized about how she handled things and thanked me for being patient. I have done the same, and we've been talking every day, although she still lives with her parents. We changed our plans altogether and have decided to do an elopement and be married in Rome. We contacted a relative we have living there who set everything up from the venue, photographer, and the minister. We decided on a little ceremony by the lake with just us, the minister, our relative, and the photographer. We are leaving in a week and are very excited about it. And since we will be there, we'll have our honeymoon in Spain right after, as planned, since it's only a few hours away. The April wedding will still push through for family and friends as more of a vow renewal and reception. We have informed them about it, and they understand how our case has been very unique and are very happy and supportive regardless. Our elopement is simply a ceremony for the both of us, not thinking about other people for once. We are already looking at a bigger apartment for us when we return from the trip, so Rena could have her own working studio, as my apartment is too small. We'll be updating if we can after the trip, as your input has really put things in perspective. Thanks for everything, and it really did help us look deeper into the foundation of our principles and priorities. In the comments, Lost Raven Blue says, "We got married too fast, and her family wasn't there, so we decided to do the same thing again, but in Rome this time." I can't put my finger on why exactly, but I have a feeling this will not end well. Lots of things gave me pause. There's the obvious and very classic Christian lovers put the cart before the horse by rushing to get married before getting to know one another. There's his impatience and frustration, which will ultimately be a long-term problem if they end up with incompatible libidos or medical issues. There's her picking and choosing which parts of being married she wants to embrace early, living together, taking his surname, versus the significance of which parts she's choosing to leave out, sexual intimacy. It seems like a whole host of just under the surface issues ready to re-emerge. Cockbeal says, "I have been married twice. Can honestly say I've never felt married after any of them. It just felt like things continued the exact same as they did before." That must be why this couple is getting triple married. Courthouse, then a tiny ceremony in Rome, then a big church wedding later. It's the third ceremony that does it. She's not going to let him touch her for another 6 months after their third wedding, then will stumble into an affair because she doesn't feel pressured by the other guy. Or she'll just refuse, and he'll either leave or wither into a husk of depression. It sounds like Rena was raised in strictly purity culture and can't let go of the idea of her first time being after a fancy wedding and on her honeymoon. This is not a switch that she's going to be able to magically turn on. I worry vaginismus is in their future or a dead bedroom. Our next post is by user PrizeAd3917, titled, "Am I the asshole for asking my fiancé to skip this year's Christmas family vacation because our baby is due?" For some context, I've gone to Florida with his family for the past 5 years for at least part of Christmas. Every other year, I returned before him to spend Christmas Day with my family. This year is the first time in a long time that all the other siblings are able to overlap dates. My fiancé has major FOMO, which is why this is a sensitive subject. His parents have always been weird about keeping their family close. They've never said it outright, but little things suggest they don't consider me completely part of their family yet, since we aren't married. Also, my parents are away overseas dealing with a grandparent emergency. My mum has been kept in the loop though, and is trying to come back as soon as she can. My fiancé and I, 31 male and 31 female, are expecting our first baby due December 30th. His family has a vacation home in Florida, and they've gone every year during the holidays for about a month until after New Year. He agreed not to go this year because of the baby, but his family is insisting that he go and come back on the 28th, which is ample time before the baby is due. So he bought a ticket for December 15th to 28th. His reasoning is that his parents really want him there, and his siblings will also be going. This is bothering me a lot more than I thought, because I know pregnancies are unpredictable, especially in the last trimester, and if anything happens leading up to the date, I need him there. My parents are away until December 26th, and my friends have their families, so I'll be completely alone. The other reason, and I guess it's more selfish, is that I'll be spending Christmas by myself. It's not the main reason why I'm bothered, but it's a small part of it. He's been spending Christmas every year in Florida since he was 15, and there will be many more trips after the baby is born. I don't know why he has to go this year. Anytime I bring it up, it results in a very uncomfortable fight about my expectations to put me first rather than his parents. I don't even bring it up anymore. His parents have always been kind to me, but they also don't see any problem, so I think I'm going crazy. Am I the asshole here? In the comments, not the asshole. Your husband is a fool if he goes. This is your first baby. You do not know if the baby will be here early, on time, or late. His family is you and the baby. If his family can't see that, that's another issue. None of them have a crystal ball and know when that baby is coming. Personally, I would also be pointing out how quickly things can go wrong for mum or bubs during labor. I'm actually disgusted with him for thinking this is okay to leave his vulnerable wife during that time. You just don't know what's going to happen. And what's with not wanting to spend Christmas with you, leaving you completely alone? Not cool. I'm furious for you. Where are you? I will come and take care of you. Quotes, your husband is a fool. Thankfully, it's her fiancé. No paperwork involved yet. I'd be looking for a lawyer to handle child support and a parenting agreement. I'm sure she can make a few calls while he's away. Hate to be all Reddit about this, but this would be a reason for me to dump him immediately. He's going to leave his heavily pregnant partner alone at Christmas because his family really wants him to be at their yearly holiday? He is such an asshole, and a terrible partner and father to boot, for even suggesting this, let alone fighting her on this. He's going to be hard to co-parent with, but maybe he won't even fight for custody. Oh, he's going to fight for at least partial custody. How else can he cart the kid around to his family events and play the sorry single father? This is so unforgivable. Even the fighting leading up to the trip is enough, in my opinion. So unforgivable. I don't see how he could possibly be a good partner or father based on the fact that he sees nothing wrong with this and is arguing with her about it. Even if it wasn't for the health risks, OP is absolutely not selfish for not wanting to be alone on Christmas, and it's insane that she thinks so. I hope she tells her friends, because if I was one of them, I would absolutely be making her a part of my family Christmas. Same, with a potential birthing plan just in case. Lovely One says, are you kidding me? They are all leaving a pregnant woman alone on the holidays at the absolute end of her pregnancy? This is not appropriate behavior for your fiancé, your partner, the father of this child, for F's sake, not the asshole. I couldn't agree more. OP's fiancé is selfish, and so is his family. I can't believe anyone would think this behavior is appropriate. Leaving your super pregnant wife at home over Christmas? What the hell? Not the asshole, but they are big time. At the end of my pregnancy, I couldn't tie my own shoes or get out of bed without assistance. Plus, she's in the one visit a week phase of her pregnancy. So many things require assistance, particularly if she goes into labor. She really shouldn't be alone. The obstetrician should be emphasizing that. How could he leave her? Not the asshole. He is showing you where his priorities lie, and sadly they are not with you. Believe him. Right now, he should be putting you and his unborn child well before his parents. While his parents have always been kind, look at what they're doing now with insisting that he come. You are not his priority, nor are they looking out for your health and well-being as you carry their grandchild. Make your plans now on how you will get to the hospital and birthing center if the baby comes early. That should be your first priority. After that's done, please evaluate your relationship and seriously decide if this is what you want your future to be and the future of your child. If you decide that it isn't, then start to figure out your exit, even if he does make it back before the baby comes. I am so sorry that you're having to deal with this right now. The stress of it all has got to be so immense and not something you should be subjected to right now. And now, onto the update. I'm sorry for not updating sooner. Everything has been overwhelming, and I'm trying to deal with a lot. The good news is that my mum arrived home yesterday. When I had explained everything to her, her sister, who is a retired nurse, insisted that she come too. I'm so thankful to have them here. It's hard to get my feelings across as there's a bit of a cultural barrier. My mum is from Hong Kong, and without getting into details, the grandparent situation was very much an emergency. But she has siblings and my dad who is staying there at the moment. As for my fiancé, I scheduled a virtual appointment with him and my OBGYN to update her and told her this whole situation. Like all of you, she was appalled and strongly recommended that he not travel during this time. Her words were, "In my professional opinion, I'm going to very strongly recommend that you reconsider your plans. In my personal opinion, I'm going to insist it." It was probably on me for not alerting her sooner his travel plans. After that, he is still going, but adjusting his dates so that he'll be back on the 22nd. There will be 1 day overlap with his siblings. His mum isn't too happy that he won't be there for Christmas. She suggested that he fly back later on the 25th instead so that he can spend a part of Christmas Day with them, but he said no. It's still not ideal for me. My mum and aunt have insisted to speak with his parents, so we've scheduled a call with them later today. I reached out to my best friend too about this after I read some of your responses and PMs. She was livid and informed her husband that she doesn't care if it's on Christmas Day. If I go into labor, she will drop everything and be there. She has also been kept up to date about who will be with me while he is away and will be visiting. I know that there were a lot of questions regarding the family, but I can't address all of them. It's too much to write out. Yes, I know they don't treat me completely as family. There have always been small passive-aggressive things that have bothered me. Not invited to Mother's and Father's Day events, left out of family Secret Santa, not being allowed to sleep in the same room when we visit, etc. Yes, I know that his mother must be aware that he shouldn't be leaving me at 37 weeks. She's not dumb, and I update her after all of my appointments, so I know that she knows this too. I don't know why she's saying it's okay, but I have an idea why. My mum has made it clear that she will be addressing all of this in the call. Some of you wondered how they can afford to go to Florida for a month. His parents are retired and snowbird there. His siblings and sister-in-law all have 9-to-5 jobs that are partly remote, so they're lucky enough to take their work to Florida and work there. My fiancé is a gig worker, so he dictates his own schedule. Obviously, their schedules don't always align. I haven't shown him this thread yet. At the moment, it's just one more thing I don't want to deal with him. I may in the future, but I have suggested we go to therapy before we set a wedding date, and he agreed. I'm also seeking counseling for myself. Lastly, I am incredibly grateful to all of you who took time to respond, offer to visit me, and to bring me food. I've never posted on Reddit before, but I appreciate the support that you've all shown me. Once again, thank you all so much. I'll try to update again after the baby comes. It might be a while, but please know that I'm safe and have a lot of love surrounding me. Please have a safe and happy holidays. Also, I'm expecting a girl. In the comments, Bella Santiago says, I want to know how the call between the parents went. I hope her mum reamed out his mum. I know the parents shouldn't be brought into this, but screw it. I'd want my mum to go mama bear all up on them if I were her. I sincerely hope that she cursed her 6 ways to Sunday, Leaving a pregnant woman alone until 2, now revised to 7 days before the due date? Utterly mad. I'm so glad all the other people in OP's life are showing up for her, but it is deeply problematic that the most important person, her would-be husband and father of her child, is still kowtowing to his parents and siblings for everything. I do not like the sound of how OP and baby will likely be forced to do Christmas again, as his family expects. Feels like historical Just No Mother-in-Law posts where they reveal they haven't even once had a Christmas with their own side of the family. He shouldn't get a phone call if she goes into labor while he is gone. He is one of the most selfish people I've read about on here. The OP needs to wake up and realize he isn't going to be there for her and the baby. I personally would have told my husband, don't come back. I'd maybe send him a pic of the kid's hand or something, enough to tell him the kid is here, but not enough where he gets a good picture. Nope. That there is just major red flags. I'm pissed off on the fact that the husband and family wanted to leave OP alone for the holidays when she is at the end of her pregnancy. Like, are you effing serious? This family is trash, and the husband too. I have a feeling that things are going to get worse. There is an old Jezebel article about a man in Brooklyn who wanted to drive to Boston for a Pearl Jam concert when his wife was 37 weeks pregnant. One night. Wife said it's okay. He asks the dad for him if he should do it, and he gets mixed responses, most saying it's probably okay. Then it comes out that he's seen Pearl Jam like 15 times. Suddenly the tide turns, and everyone agrees that he better not. Posted by user Who Effing Knows Too, titled, Am I the asshole for calling my mother-in-law on my fiancé? My fiancé, male 22, was injured over a month ago and had surgery to correct things literally 2 days after the incident. I, 21 female, have been by his side the entire time. I have more or less become his caregiver. In the last month, I have taken over the role of keeping our house together. I cook all the meals, I take care of the pets, I stay up all night to tend to his endless needs. I take him to the bathroom. I've been working remote. I haven't left the house for more than an hour since the accident, aside from taking him to and from appointments. I am not saying this to complain. I am grateful that my life allows for me to support him in the way that I have. My problem is his attitude. He was given very strong painkillers for the first 2 weeks after surgery. He had to extend his time on them and recently stopped taking them in the last week. When he was taking them, he thanked me, told me how much he loved me, apologized at every step, though he didn't need to. Without the meds, he doesn't seem to see that I am helping him. Every dish I bring him is the wrong one. He will yell for me, and when I come, he will tell me to F off. He's in pain, and he expects me to fix it. I'm exhausted. I can't do anything right, and it is wearing on me. I haven't slept in weeks. I haven't seen a friend or a family member in way too long. I can't even be on the phone for more than 10 minutes without it being an issue. After days of what turned into verbal abuse, I called my mother-in-law. I told her everything as soon as I saw he was asleep. I cried for about 15 minutes. I felt terrible unloading on her like that, but I had so much built-up frustration, I just couldn't. She was very supportive on the phone, let me know that I wasn't wrong to feel like that, and let me cry. After hearing everything, she was furious and ended our call to talk to her son. She tore him a new asshole. I heard him trying to defend himself through the door, but it was mostly just stammering. She flew yesterday and put me up at a nice hotel. I haven't heard much from my fiancé since I left, but as I was leaving, he was yelling at me for calling his mum. He said he didn't want to marry someone who couldn't be there for him in sickness. I told him I loved him and that I was sorry. I was just so tired. He didn't care and just told me to go, and his mum could do a better job for him than I ever could. So now I'm in my way too nice hotel room, feeling like a major asshole. I need to know if I'm in the wrong here. Edit, he began weaning off 2 weeks ago and became fully dependent on over-the-counter medication this week. He did not stop taking them cold turkey. His doctors were heavily involved too, due to previous drug abuse. Edit, mother-in-law is taking them back to their hometown once they can get flights together. I'll stay in this hotel until then. Fiancé doesn't want to talk yet, and to be honest, I don't blame him. He knows what's coming and that I'm pissed. I'll go visit him in a week, so I have until then to decide how I want to move forward. My mother called last night about a venue she found in my hometown, and I told her what's going on. She doesn't want to spend a bunch of money on a pending divorce, so we are stepping back from planning. Not much more to add. I'm excited to see my pets and be able to sleep in my own bed. I'm going to try to make my sister fly to my state so I can have some more company. That's pretty much it. I'm in serious awe about how I let my life get like this, but oh well, today will be better. In the comments, someone asks, is it withdrawal? And OP says, he behaves like this frequently when in pain, just never to this degree. I can promise you that he had been weaned off and would tell me if that's what he was feeling. I have seen him go through much worse withdrawals when we first met, and this isn't that. He is lashing out on me in pain, which I get. I was the only person around. He has a history of drug abuse. I took administration of the pills very seriously. Due to his history, we worked very closely with his psychiatric team and the orthopedic to make his weaning period as easy as possible. I should have put that in the post, but he did not stop cold turkey. Is this abnormal behavior? Well, he has what some would call a short fuse, especially with me. Him saying hurtful remarks to me or just blatantly putting me down is not necessarily uncommon and is something that we're working on. Prior to this, he would apologize and make it up to me. Now, even when I'm in tears, he'll just keep laying on the insults. OP has some thoughts later that day. Being away and able to process the last month of my life has been eye-opening. I couldn't imagine trying to care for a child under conditions like that. I couldn't imagine how frustrated I would be. His injury is in his arm. He can walk, he can use his left dominant hand. I understand that he is in pain and it's awful, but I've had a friend with much worse injuries help us move. I'm thinking about returning my ring. Update in the comments. OP says, I've returned. My last night in the hotel, I called my parents to make a plan, and it didn't go well. I'm home with my fiancé again. He won't talk to me except to bark orders at me. I'm hoping I can move out within a month or two. Surgery and recovery are expensive, and we've been living on my income for some time, and I'm pretty broke, but I'm keeping my head up, and I'm confident that I can get myself out. Someone asks OP, why didn't he go with his mom? And OP says, I know she pushed for him to go, but he's a very stubborn boy. Thank you. I'll be okay. And now, on to the update. I went home 2 days after posting. Things were sad. My mother-in-law had cleaned, but the energy in the house was a bummer. The first thing he said to me when I got back was, I'm glad you're back. Can you make me a snack? There was no apology, no accountability, just a task. He only talked to me when he needed something. His attitude was worsening. My mother-in-law took the rest of the prescribed opiates, so I knew he wasn't using. The weekend following the mother-in-law debacle, my wonderful fiancé told me that he had friends coming to stay for the weekend. 2-hour heads up. Didn't ask. I sighed and made up the guest room. His friend and friend's girlfriend came to stay. During the stay, my fiancé bought me flowers, got out of bed daily, took me out, and let me call my parents unsupervised. The day they left, he was back to bed with a shitty attitude. I wish I could say that I'm in my own apartment with my pets and a bottle of rosé that's just for me, or with my girlfriends that I haven't seen in months. Unfortunately, I'm writing this on the couch while I listen to the music that are his endless demands. However, I do have a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm scared to leave him in person, but he's leaving the country for a month in April. My sister lives abroad, and I'm working on getting to her during that month. It's a process, especially with pets, but I look forward to getting there. My mother hasn't spoken to me since I told her that I was returning the ring, because that's not what we do. We clean our messes. But I have my father's unwavering support. I'll miss my mother-in-law, but I deserve that kindness and understanding from my partner, not his mother. I've stopped forcing myself to find the joy in his presence, and it's helping to fuel my drive to get out of here. I may update again when I get to my sister, but don't be surprised if I do my best to put this chapter behind me. Thanks for the kind words. I hope you all get the love and hugs you need. In the comments, what do I call this says, Sorry, I'm confused. I thought fiancé was going with mother-in-law. Either way, I'm glad you're getting out. The fact that he allowed you to call your parents unsupervised is probably the biggest red flag. And the fact that your mother thinks that this is a mess that you made, or that you need to work to clean up, is shitty too. I'm glad you have the support of your dad and mother-in-law. If you don't give another update, then I'll just wish you the best here. You deserve to get out. And OP replies, mother-in-law was planning on taking him, he refused. Things got very bad since I posted this. I'm currently in my childhood room at my father's, decently hungover, and I am officially a single lady. Quotes, let me call my parents unsupervised. Please explain this. OP replies, I called my sister once when I was scared of him a while back. She called the police. He liked to be in the room when I was talking to family following that incident, so I didn't say anything dramatic. I should have seen how bad it was. Typing that out just feels gross. Can you share how things went south so quickly that you moved out? After reading all of this, I'm just curious. OP says, I don't want to get too into it, but we had a bad night. It ended with me locked on the balcony. I still have some bruising. I was able to call my father on my watch, and we made a plan to get me home the next morning. And on to our next update, titled, Final Update? It's been some time, and I finally feel comfortable enough with my situation to update y'all. My pets and I are safely with my father. We've been here for a couple of weeks, and things are going well. I'm working remote, but also searching for a new position closer to my hometown so I can still have a social life. My animals are adapting to life without their dad, and I'm doing my best to join them. My ex and I were high school sweethearts. I've been through most major life events with him. There is only a small fraction of my life as an adult that I've been through without him. Leaving was really hard. I'm still second-guessing myself. But I realized recently that by not enabling his shitty behavior, I really am helping him. He went on his planned trip, and I took that opportunity to get everything I needed from our shared home and made arrangements going forward for my lease. He took his trip as an opportunity to reflect on his behavior within our relationship, specifically the last year. He's pretty disappointed in himself. It seems that the company he was on vacation with helped to hold a pretty clear mirror to his face, and he was really unhappy with what he saw. I feel bad that he's really having a hard time with this self-awareness, but I really do appreciate the accountability that has been accompanied. I'd like to add that I don't hold any resentment towards him. I am hurt and disappointed in the way that he felt he could treat me, but I don't hate him. I was sad to hear how upset he was with himself, though I was a little relieved that I wasn't being painted as the crazy ex I was sure he would paint me as. Since getting home, he has started therapy and is looking for a new sponsor. We talk about once a week so he can see his pets, and I also don't mind the positive updates. When we talk, it is respectful and there is still a lot of love. But I've set boundaries that keep him from hounding me about our relationship. I've also started a new therapy. This is my first serious breakup, and the aftershock is real. It's hard to lose your best friend, future husband, and father of your fur babies in one go. I am confident, however, that this is essential to both of our growth. I'm happy that we can have a respectful, albeit small, relationship. Who knows what the future holds, but for now, I'm doing my best to be content with this new independence and grateful my life can go through roadblocks and I can get through easily, thanks to my amazing support system. I still haven't spoken to my mother. That will be much later, and I will be requiring a serious apology. I love my mum, but I'm not going to stand for her demeaning me. I make really unhealthy choices to appease her, and so she doesn't have to be embarrassed by my broken home? I mean, come on, man, I'm 21. I am young and smart and pretty, and I have a really good, kind life in my future. Thank you for helping me not settle for comfortable. I hope I never have to update again, and I hope you are all having a really good Friday. In the comments, I Love Nachoa says, Yay! Happy everything turns out well for you. However, I would like to point out that your ex could possibly be bluffing. Although this may sound mean, keep your guards up around him. Many abusers often start to change or take action once their ex leaves them to give an impression that they've changed for the better, when in actuality, it's another manipulative technique to rope them back in. I'm not saying that he's untrustworthy, I'm just saying that you should be cautious because it's happened to many people before. Plus, I find it hard to believe, and too good to be true, that he'll start to change right after you left him. His behavior before was already telling, plus it's only been a month. OP replies, absolutely. I'm pleased to see progress, period. I have no intentions of rejoining that relationship. I'm just really happy that he's also getting a new start that is positive, and I'm proud of him for taking it seriously and getting the help that he needs. I was fully expecting self-destruction while blaming me, and instead, he's owning up to his mistakes and trying to do better for himself. And now, onto our next update, titled Surprise Twist. So I left out of my last post my final interaction with my ex. It didn't seem too important at the time, but we had a final hookup the last time that I saw him. I am now pregnant. This was my biggest fear while with him, having a child and being solely responsible for them. I am now in that exact position. I told my ex a couple of days after I found out. I assured him that this changes nothing about our relationship, but as he is the father, he has the right to be involved in the conversation. He declared he is moving to my hometown, and he will be the best goddamn father you've ever seen. I have my doubts. I am full of anxiety. I've barely learned how to treat myself correctly. I want my kid to be so beyond loved. I want my child to have everything in the world and more. I don't know how to do that on my own. I'm encouraged to see my ex making big boy steps to be a part of our kid's life, but I'm also cautious that he's doing all of this to get back in my good graces. I can't be a mum to my ex and my future child. I can't fall back into the same dynamic that made me leave. I'm doing what I can to stay strong and to hold my ground, but then he sends me flowers or a massage certificate or a bump box. Every gift, every check-in text, and every mention of our baby gets me closer to going back to him. I don't really know why I'm posting this. I guess it's cathartic to get this all down and out in my own words. It's hard to write your own narrative in your own words in a small gossipy hometown. It's hard to be pregnant and single, but the hardest thing is telling your father that you're expecting no matter how old you are. I know I'll be okay. I'm already trying everything in my power to be a good mum already. I'm trying to be respectful to everyone I can regarding this situation, but damn, it's tough. Anyway, that's my ramble. I doubt anyone reads these anymore, lol, but I'm glad I said it. In the comments, Cassowary Kick says, "Are you sure you want to tie yourself to him for the rest of your life? Because that's what having a kid with him is going to do." OP says, "No, I am not. I'm not too sure about much right now. I do know that I already love this baby more than I can say. I know that he loves our baby already too, and that's all I really care about. His mom is good at reining him in, and I have to believe that things are going to be okay." Our next update is titled, "I love you, but My mum and I have always had a rocky relationship. I went to live with my dad as soon as I could decide and kept my contact minimal. After high school, I moved away for college and for a good job with my ex. My mum followed me to my new city, and we tried to rebuild our relationship. Unfortunately, I got scared of the choices I made when I was with her, so I went back to low contact, and she moved back to my hometown. Recently, my life turned upside down. Long story short, my boyfriend and I broke up, I moved home with my dad, and got a new, better job. Then I found out I was pregnant. My dad has a full house, and I made the decision to move to my mother's guest house for my pregnancy so I can save more money for Bebe, and move out once they're around 2 months old. The timeline works for my finances, and I figured since I'm just on her property, not main house, it might be easy to keep a low profile. How naive! After work daily, she comes over to check on me. She hasn't failed to offer me an alcoholic beverage, not once since I moved in. She chain smokes right outside of my bedroom daily, and she stays late. I know it's her home, I know that she's very kind to have me here, but I'm growing a person right now. I'm preparing myself for motherhood, single motherhood. I work long, demanding hours. I am stressed and isolated. I would love an effing drink. But I'm pregnant. I can't drink. The time I brought it up, I was screamed at, and she asked me to leave in the morning. It was really upsetting and stressful. I feel like she comes here to bait me into picking a fight so she can pull every power play to make me feel small. So anyway, Mum, I love you, but man, I'm trying to give our entire family a healthy new friend. I'm trying to re-establish myself as an adult in the town that I was a child in. I'm trying to do better for myself and my baby. Please respect that for me. Please respect that enough for your grandchild. I love you. Please try to love me. And now onto the one last, final update. Hey Reddit, it's been a while. My life has flipped me in every direction, but I'm finally in a place where I'm happy and confident enough in my situation and decisions to loop my internet friends in. I started a new job several months ago. It was up my alley and an amazing pay. I was living with my mother in order to save up during my pregnancy, but once I started my job, I immediately moved out. Besides the pay and the career boost, I have found very meaningful relationships within the company. I met a group of co-workers on my first day that I was immediately attracted to. They are adventurous and kind, outgoing people. I started building my relationships with them, and eventually they became some of the closest people to me. They have been supportive of all of my struggles from this year, and I would not have been able to get through my miscarriage without all of the love that they had to give me. I miscarried in my second trimester. It was hell. I have never been more upset with my body. I felt like I had failed my child. There was nothing I could do to take that pain away. It still breaks my heart on a daily basis, but I've been getting through it and a little stronger every day. My ex lost his mind when he found out. He said I took his family from him and he would never forgive me. He threatened to sue me for emotional distress that I had caused him. It was unbelievable. The month after my miscarriage, I started seeing one of my new work friends. He's a bit older than me and does everything I have ever wanted. He is quite literally the opposite of my ex. He cooks and cleans, and he makes me feel beautiful and smart, and all the things my ex would say I wasn't. I found a new version of myself this year. I have made good friends who support me every day. I've found things that I love to do, and have been able to restart hobbies I gave up in favor of my ex. I found a person who makes me want to do better every day. I know this is long, so I'll wrap it up. I have never been happier in my life. I know it's dumb to say, but I genuinely thank Reddit for this. It was hard to read some comments, but it gave me the strength and understanding I needed to stop settling for someone who didn't care about me. I truly hope this is the last time any of you will see a post from me. Thank you all. In the comments, Kiwi Tech Girl says, "This is going to sound awful, but the miscarriage was a blessing in disguise." You were correct. The way I just yelled, "Get an abortion," at my phone screen. Also, she should not be dating already. Her ex was her high school sweetheart. She wasn't even single for like 6 months. She needs some solo time. Same. I don't even feel bad about it. This miscarriage was the best thing for her. She needs therapy and a role model. This girl makes bad choices. Never in my effing life would someone lock me on a damn balcony and then I continue to sleep with them. Then she was gonna be a single mum and expected her toxic mother to be there for her? Like, bruh, get it to effing gether. What do you want to bet the bit older is over 35? She's literally walking right back into what is very likely another abusive situation. She's just too inexperienced in life to see it, and her support system sucks. I only hope that she doesn't get pregnant again. Trauma recovery and breaking the cycle of abuse are insanely difficult. She only has known toxic relationships. I think she can heal, but it'll take time, and I hope she finds it. He's already poked holes in the condoms if he hasn't convinced her to just risk it. This has Baby Trap Bang Maid written all over it. Like, why are we all afraid of how bad her new man will turn out to be? She's got the absolute worst instincts. Also, she didn't give herself enough single time to process the previous relationship, pregnancy, and miscarriage. Unfortunately, at 21, 2 months feels like a lifetime. To borrow a TikTok phrase, it's a bit of a canon event. Am I the asshole for setting the record straight about my boyfriend's birthday party antics? Posted by Connect Astronomer. I, 21 female, recently found myself in a situation where my boyfriend's, 22 male, friends insisted that I foot the bill for his birthday party under the pretense that he had generously covered mine. Little did his friends know, he not only failed to contribute to my celebration, but also made me pay him back for a bottle of whiskey that he had gifted me, all while consuming half of it in front of everyone. Recently, my boyfriend celebrated his birthday, and when his friends insisted that I contribute to covering the expenses since he supposedly paid for mine, I felt compelled to set the record straight. While I appreciate the gesture of him throwing a party for me on my birthday, the reality is that he didn't contribute financially to the event. Instead, I ended up covering the costs, which left me feeling a bit deceived given the expectations set by his friends. The situation took an even more uncomfortable turn when he presented me with a whiskey bottle as a gift during my birthday party. What seemed like a thoughtful gesture quickly turned into a bizarre turn of events when he later asked me to pay him back for the gift. To add insult to injury, he openly consumed half of the gifted whiskey in front of everyone while not even offering me a single drink of it. Now faced with the assumption that my boyfriend had generously paid for my celebration, his friends are expecting me to reciprocate the favor for his birthday party. I'm torn between going along with the misconception to keep the peace or revealing the truth about what transpired during my own celebration. So, am I the asshole for considering exposing the reality of my boyfriend's actions regarding my birthday party's expenses and the gift? In the comments, Admirable Avocado says, "Not the asshole. Does your boyfriend even like you?" OP says, "Makes me wonder, cause every time we're out, I'm expected to pay more than 70%, even if we get a room for rent for a couple of hours, which doesn't exactly cost a lot, but it's about the contribution. Are you sure your boyfriend isn't using you for money?" And OP says, "I have begun to feel that he is using me for money and sex, because every time we screw and are done, he asks me to pay and makes a joke about how he's a gigolo or something, and that he deserves to be paid for his service, though I never even thought of something like this before. You don't have a boyfriend. You have a leech. Do you really want to be with this leech for the rest of your life? Imagine having children with him. Oh my god, he couldn't even be bothered to throw you a birthday or get you a gift. Get him the gift of being single, and please find your self-respect and find someone who is actually a partner." OP says, "I absolutely do not want that. I feel like the only reason I kept my eyes closed is because he is my first boyfriend after so much happened, and he used to protect me. But this gave me a whole new perspective. I don't know if it's helpful or not, but we've known each other for more than 8 years and have been dating for 2, and it's the first time that we had to celebrate my birthday together. For his birthday last year, as per his request, I got us a hotel room in the Marriott where he first spent some time with me and then asked me to leave after he was done so his friends could come in after I left and they could party for the rest of the night and the next day." Wow, why are you with this guy again? He treats you like an old towel. Why are you okay with this? OP says, "He was there for me when my ex spread my nudes at school and spread rumors of how I effed his friends and cheated just because I said no to having sex with him. This guy physically fought him and called his parents to sort the matter out and supported me through all of that. Maybe I'm just grateful or feel safe with him." Well, maybe he stood up for you back then, OP, but now he's not doing that. The fact that he kicked you out of the hotel room that you guys were supposed to spend together so that he could party with his friends after he was done having sex with you is just insane, is it not? Please have some self-respect for yourself, OP, and some decency to leave this guy, because just accepting that he's doing these things to you and blatantly disrespecting you in front of your face, in front of all of your friends, it's gotta be so humiliating. The best thing you could have done would be leave him yesterday, and the best thing you can do now is to leave him now, OP. He doesn't deserve you. Update. Hello again, Reddit. I wanted to provide an update on my previous post and share the recent developments in my relationship. After much contemplation and advice by everyone here, I decided to have an honest conversation with my boyfriend about the misconceptions surrounding our birthday celebrations. I calmly explained that while I appreciated the effort that he put into throwing me a party, the financial burden had fallen entirely on my shoulders, contrary to what his friends believed. To my surprise, the discussion took an unexpected turn. My boyfriend not only admitted to his lack of financial contribution, but also revealed a more troubling behavior. He confessed to showing private pictures of us and me, which he secretly took to his friends without my consent, a violation of my trust and privacy. What followed was an even more distressing revelation. His friends, upon learning about the situation, made inappropriate and disrespectful suggestions, implying that I offer certain favors to them by entertaining them instead of contributing financially to my boyfriend's birthday party. Feeling disgusted by their behavior and betrayed by my boyfriend, I took matters into my own hands. I discreetly recorded the inappropriate conversations and confronted my now ex-boyfriend about it. When he failed to show remorse, I decided to share the recordings with his friends' girlfriends, exposing their disrespectful comments. Additionally, I reached out to his mum and shared the troubling aspects of our relationship, hoping that she could offer some guidance or intervention. It was a difficult decision, but I felt that it was essential to bring these issues to light. As a result, I've officially ended the relationship and distanced myself from those toxic individuals. Thank you all for the support and advice in my previous post, and for making me realize what I have failed to see. In the comments, Huge Asparagus says, "Congratulations. Also, don't shoulder this as your fault or something that you should have known. You were 100% betrayed by someone who was a wolf in sheep's clothing. You learn and move on, remembering that a partner needs to respect and value you. If you feel that they aren't living up to your needs, talk it out and leave if they can't or refuse to change. Good luck." OP says, "Thank you. I have indeed learnt my lesson, and though it hurts a lot right now, I know I saved myself in the long run. I would consider after his birthday antics last year by getting a hotel room and asking her to leave would be the death of the relationship right there. Then to do something similar to her birthday in asking her to pay for her gift, well, that's just some more douchery of the same type. Sounds like she was taught to put up with crap behavior by her parents and is struggling to give herself the validation and support that she needs. I hope she gets some help for herself before she finds another one, as I'm sure that there are plenty of crap boyfriends out there." Is it her parents or the whole damn society? There are still so many places in the world where being a single woman is the worst thing ever. Like, I would never, but have met a lot of women who think, "But he doesn't beat me," means he's a good guy. The bar is currently a tripping hazard in hell. I think part of the problem with the "but he doesn't beat me" thing is for so many years, the only type of abuse that we, women, maybe society as a whole, heard about was physical abuse. I feel like only in the past decade we've started to really identify and dig into emotional, verbal, financial, and all the others. Plus, physical abuse is easy to identify. There is a clear action to define it, but the others, not so much. Our next post is by user CWorthinessOwn9590, titled, "Am I the asshole for making my husband and children prove they can take care of a dog without my help? Before we got married and had kids, my husband and I agreed that all big decisions required 2 yes or no votes. Well, our 2 oldest kids and my husband want a dog. I do not. I have heard too many horror stories about a family getting a pet and then the person who did not want it being stuck caring for it. I finally agreed on 3 conditions. 1. Smaller than 60 pounds. We do not need a Mastiff. 2. A non-shedding dog only. None of us are allergic, I just don't want extra work. And 3. For 60 days in a row, they had to collect all the garbage from all the trash cans in the house and put it in the big garbage bin. That was to make sure that they would remember to feed a dog every day. And for 60 days, they, all 3 of them, had to go for a 1-mile walk twice a day, with a GPS route tracker active. If they missed a day, they had to start over. The longest they've made it so far is 2 weeks. My parents called me up to say that I was being ridiculous and petty. I 100% agreed with them. But since they always side with the kids, I was ready for them. I sent them a link for a dog walking service in my area. It is very reasonable. I said if they wanted a say in the dog decision, they had to agree to set up an account with that company, and I could call up the company for help whenever their precious, perfect grandchildren and son-in-law forgot to take care of the dog. They said I was being a jerk and that they had the right to their opinion. I agreed that they had that, but unless they were willing to pay to include their opinion in the decision, it did not matter. My husband has finally seen that the kids are not responsible enough to have a dog. Great. He said we needed to tell them. I said that we was one too many people. I wasn't the one who sided with them when I had said that I knew that they were not ready. He thinks I'm being a dick. No one's called me an asshole, but that's only because they say it in much more polite terms. In the comments, Secret Jealous 4342 says, "Not the asshole. Am I the asshole is literally full of posts about people taking care of pets that they didn't want. Dogs are a long-term commitment. Has your husband taken into account that your kids will be in school, extracurriculars, dating, etc.? Depending on how old your kids are, they may even move out. Who will be taking care of the dog then?" OP says, "I know. I usually comment in this sub using my main account, but I was afraid of being downvoted into oblivion by dog lovers." There's no way you would be. True dog lovers want the dogs to be happy, comfortable, and cared for. The fact that the people who want the dog are not willing to step up and take care of the dog is the problem. You don't have a dog because you don't want a dog, and that's completely fine. You also don't want to be sandbagged either, which is even more fine. Not the asshole. This was brilliant planning. And OP says, "Not gonna lie, I got so many ideas from reading this sub." Thank you so much for posting this. I fight with myself daily to not get a dog. I'm actually trying to get up to walking a mile a day, but then you said that I need 2 miles a day. You just pushed the goalpost before I made it halfway. Not the asshole. Even though every step along the way was pushing the fuzzy border of assholedom, I'm giving you not the asshole clearance on this. Most people don't understand the responsibility required to own a dog. Many dogs are neglected and mistreated because of it. And often the responsibility for preventing those things from happening falls on the most responsible member of the household, which sounds like you. One thing I'll add to this is give them another chance. People can learn discipline and change. OP says they can try for 60 days as many times as they want. Honestly, I'm in agreement with that one. I think not the asshole here as well. I've been around animals my whole life. I know firsthand how hard it is to look after them and how much of a commitment it takes. This family has obviously shown time and time again that they're not ready for that commitment, that they will not give proper care to this dog. I'm so on board with OP stopping them until they reach that 60-day mark, because it's kind of pathetic that, hey, we're just gonna lie to you. Yeah, responsibility is gonna fall all on you, but we're gonna pretend and get mad at you until then. They can all pout and pose about it as much as they want to, but until they can prove that they are able to look after this dog just as much, it's not happening. Not the asshole. Update. They did it. It took them almost a year, but they managed to follow all the rules for 2 months. We have found an acceptable dog at a rescue, and we are bringing him home tomorrow. My kids are stoked to get a pup for Christmas. My husband has lost a bunch of weight from his daily walks, and I have too since I joined in on most walks. Thanks everyone for your comments and opinions. I held strong, and they came through. In the comments, Stephen Allen 1977 says, "Wow, a couple doing something in an adult matter and following through, eventually, to earn their reward. What a great way to teach them responsibility without coming off as the bad guy. Not the normal am I the asshole fodder for sure." Have to love OP pulling the classic, "You want to order me around my house like it's your home? Well then, pay up like it's your home," on her own parents. Grandparents want their grandkids to have a dog, but have the audacity to want OP to do all the work. Then grandparents/OP's parents should at least pay for dog walking services for said grandkids. OP is not wrong to do that. And this is how you set boundaries and hold others accountable when they're being immature and ridiculous. I think OP did a great job. I'm hoping that she's also holding folks accountable for their language towards her. Her parents calling her a petty jerk and her husband calling her a dick because she doesn't want to do what they want is pretty obnoxious. Quote, I have heard too many horror stories about a family getting a pet and then the person who didn't want it being stuck caring for it. If this isn't the damn truth, my ex always has to have no less than 2 cats on hand. I'm meh about cats because of shedding and the annoying shit they get into around the house, but I absolutely hate dealing with the litter box. I told her before we moved in together that I wouldn't be responsible for it. Who do you think was primarily responsible for the effing litter box and had to deal with it though? It sure wasn't her. And you know what? Good on you, OP, for that one. Sticking to your guns and pulling through with your family in the end, because it's so refreshing to hear healthy change being made in the household as a result of you sticking to your guns. No one had to get hurt, no one's feelings were stomped on besides yours for a long time, but hey, it's not like they really care about that. And it seems like everything is working out in the end, so congratulations to everyone. Our next post is by user Lyrically Me, titled, Am I the asshole, 27 female, for not wanting to share my finals notes with my nursing classmates? Hey all, so I'm in an accelerated nursing program. We're set to graduate actually this week, but I'm not doing too well in my med-surg class, and most likely will not be graduating until April if I have to retake this class. Now, basically for the entire year, there are a few classmates of mine, one in particular, who always asked me to send her my notes for some of our classes to study before an exam. I take a lot of time creating these notes, reading the textbook, watching videos, rescinding the professor's lectures, and at first I did not mind sending, until I realized that the majority of the classmates had my notes. The one girl I sent my notes to was sending them to other people. Before our last exam, I looked over at my classmate who I did not send my notes to, and she had my notes printed out, studying from them before the exam. I didn't mind sharing my notes because I felt as if we were all working together to pass. That is until I started failing med-surg. I guess that there were tips and tricks and resources online that the class had found and were not sharing with everyone. So I feel bad in a way because I feel like I've been helping so many people and I've asked for help but haven't received it. No one owes me anything, and I understand why people don't like to share the resources they have because they might get into trouble or they worry that the professor might find and change the exam, but I feel bitter now. We have a final tomorrow, and several people have been asking me to send them my notes for our pediatric final. I just don't want to send them because I feel like I've been helping you all year, and when I needed help, no one responded. People have literally told me they're only passing the class because of my notes. Am I the asshole for not sharing my notes for the final? In the comments, Llama No Drama says, Not the asshole. Nobody is entitled to your notes, and if there are resources that aren't being shared, then there's no benefit to you. Good luck on your exams. Why should you send them your notes? You asked for help and they didn't help you, so don't help them. That's on them. If they helped you, then you would have helped them. It seems to me that they're taking advantage. Been there, and absolutely not the asshole. You've been very generous. The classmates you share your notes with have no right to share those notes with others. It's a very crappy thing to do because it's not their hard work to just give away. For this reason alone, I wouldn't share anymore. It would be one thing if you shared your notes with a person and they reciprocated with other resources they heard about or used throughout your coursework, but if you're getting nothing out of this, don't get into the habit of sharing. Once in a while is fine, especially if they had a tragedy in their life or something, but don't feel bad. I assure you they have their own notes and resources that they don't share, but want to use your notes to make sure that they have the extra that you picked up on. Update. Hey all. So I believe that it was yesterday that I posted on this group about how I'm currently failing my Med-Surg 2 class, which I still am, lol. Our final for that class isn't until Thursday. There are a couple of girls who usually rely on me to send them notes for our classes before exams, and I never had an issue until I realized that my notes were being sent to people that I didn't send them to. Still, this didn't bother me until I reached out looking for help pertaining to our Med-Surg class because everyone is passing except for me. When I reached out, I got very broad responses as to how they are studying and what resources they're using to get good grades. I decided to not share my notes this time around before our pediatrics final. It seems as if people were not reading or even studying for the class. They were only relying on my notes. We took our pediatrics final today, and I got a 96. The group of girls who usually use my notes to study failed, and 3 of them even got caught cheating using ChatGPT and are now being removed from the program. Mind you, we only have 2 more days until the semester is over, and we're supposed to be getting pinned for graduation. This final was worth 30% of our grade, and a few of them were already sitting at around 77%. Failing brought them down below a 75, which is passing for my program. I kind of feel bad because I knew that they relied on my notes, but I also don't feel bad because I asked for help and no one helped me. Am I the asshole for not giving them my notes? I feel like I let them fail. In the comments, Gordo says, "Not the asshole. I'd prefer nursing care by someone who actually earned it, not someone who cheated their way through." Yes. The first thing I thought is, can you imagine a medical professional treating you, and it turns out that they were too lazy and stupid to pass their classes, and had to cheat or relied on others' work to get them through school? It sounds like a punchline in a bad sitcom. It actually explains some of my awful healthcare experiences. Not the asshole. You're not responsible for other people's passing or failing their classes. You're not responsible for other people's academic work or lack thereof. You reap what you sow. They relied on your notes, but weren't there when you needed help. You owe them nothing. Reciprocity matters. You shared your notes generously, but when you needed help, they weren't there. Prioritize your success. You owe them nothing. The reason that they were all passing while you were doing poorly in comparison is because they were all cheating the whole time. They probably didn't want to help you because they assumed that you have higher ethical standards and are actually trying to learn. Exactly. That's why they were so broad about the resources, because they were cheating, not studying. Nursing school is not easy, but those that cheat will not pass the NCLEX because you cannot cheat on that. Plus, it's a moral issue. You need all that information to properly care for people. But then again, there was a huge scandal at my school. Nursing students were trading nudes for grades. My boyfriend wants to lie on his law school applications about how he's gay. Posted by a throwaway account. My boyfriend of 2 years is Asian American and had a very high pressure, and I'm almost completely sure physically abusive, but he'll never admit to it or anything of that nature, childhood, to get into an Ivy League university for undergrad. He believes he was a more qualified applicant than everyone else in his class, but didn't get into any Ivy Leagues, including a case where he and his best friend, at the time, a girl, were waitlisted together on one of them. She was called from the waitlist and told that it was definitely because of her race, white, gender, and because her family was able to pay full tuition, whereas his wasn't able to pay really anything. She offered to decline it for him so that he could go instead, but he refused. Edit, I didn't write that last part clearly enough. It wasn't a literal trade-in opportunity offered by the university, but they were the only 2 students from that school, as far as they knew, to be waitlisted. The school was the largest in its geographic area, so they thought that he was the next in line due to being a more qualified applicant on the objective stats, but less favorable in other areas. Obviously, we'll never know since he told her not to turn down the offer. But the whole experience left him extremely bitter about his chances in applying to anything, and he fully believes that lying on his application is acceptable insofar as he's not caught, because the primary thing he's judged on is his race anyway. Anyway, he's done extremely well for himself in college, unless he really F's up the interview, and he has gone to several mock interviews on the off chance that that was why he didn't get into the Ivy Leagues and passed with flying colors. He's practically guaranteed a spot at the top 40 law school at our university, in-state privilege, and our pre-law advisors told him that he's got a great chance at top 10, but he doesn't believe that they're being completely honest. However, he's not interested in top 10, he's interested in top 5. I think it's because of his mum primarily, who I know calls him every 3 days and seems to barely ask about his life, and instead asks about the status of his application, where he's thinking of applying, etc. He actually really loves his mum and says that she was nice to him, but from what he's told me, she was just not as bad as his dad. It makes me sick to my stomach to realize that after everything he's done and went through, he still wants the approval of his parents. After a particularly long call yesterday, he seemed thoughtful and distracted for most of the night, and then he came back to me today to ask if I'd be okay with him taking pictures of me off of his social media, and I edit captions and delete certain pictures to make it seem like we're just friends, not dating. I asked why, and he said he thinks that the best move for him is to say that he's gay on his application. He showed me some drafts to the personal essay questions that he wrote up about being gay. They're all really insightful and everything, but it's not completely true and authentic to his life. The crazy thing is that he's bisexual. He doesn't tell almost anyone because he's afraid his parents will disown him if they find out. But he reluctantly showed me some pictures of his ex-boyfriend from our freshman year of college when we were talking about our exes. I asked him why he doesn't just say that, because that's actually true. And he laughed and said that nobody will care about that, and then went into an explanation about the epistemic contract of bisexual erasure, which actually kinda made sense. I actually don't care about taking down social media posts or whatever. It's only temporary, and even if it's not for whatever reason, we'll still have those pictures. But the reasoning is what I don't like. So I told him point blank that I wanted to support him as much as I could, but I wouldn't do it for his outdated need to please his parents. We argued for a bit, until I just said that I'd be happy to pretend that he's gay by breaking up with him, but nothing in between. He looked hurt by that, and said that we should go back home. We don't live together, and think about it. I told my parents, who love him, and they actually surprisingly seemed torn about whether lying about being gay was really that bad. But they did agree that threatening to break up with him was too far. I was completely floored by this. So now I'm turning to the internet. I know playing up things you did is a standard part of applications, but this just seems too far. If it's not too far though, then yeah, I crossed a line by threatening to break up. What do you think? In the comments, By the Way says, he is really confused and/or not thinking rationally about this. 1. When his friend got the Ivy League acceptance, there was never any real opportunity to trade in her admission for him to be admitted. Why would either of them think that? 2. Law school admission is a process that is fuzzy. Maybe he has a 25% chance of getting into each of the top 10 law schools. If he writes a gay essay, maybe that's a 26% chance. Or maybe his gay essay doesn't seem authentic, so he has a 21% chance per school. Someone else with an equal GPA and ISAT could have the same 25% chance per school, but get into different schools. It's like rolling the dice. If you want a higher chance of acceptance, apply to more schools. If he doesn't get in this time, he can go take a 1-year volunteer position that is law-related, like working with DV victims or refugees or climate change, and then reapply. The easiest fix for him, though, would be to go low contact or no contact with his parents for a while, and figure out what matters to him and what he wants for his future. A therapist can help. As a lawyer said, I think he's kind of overestimating the value an admissions officer would place on a gay man. I don't think it's the golden ticket that he perceives it to be. In fact, I honestly think he is misconstrued a lot. Is it possible that he's simply not as special of a candidate as he believes himself to be? I'm sincerely not even saying that to be rude, but I went to a top law school, and the people in my class had effing wild backgrounds. On a note of curiosity, and as a fellow bisexual person, why does he have to be specific about his sexual identity at all? If he's part of the LGBTQ community, can't he just say that that's how he identifies? Then he wouldn't be lying. I don't know why he thinks being gay would earn him more points than being bi. Finally, he honestly doesn't sound very ethical. In my experience, people who are comfortable bending the rules usually end up breaking them. Maybe you should consider if this is a person that you want as your partner. I haven't seen anyone else really mention, when it comes to getting accepted by the bar and getting hired as a lawyer at a top firm, it will absolutely matter that he lied on his law school app. They are very serious about ethics, and he could be risking his whole career by lying about this. This is going to continually haunt him, especially once he learns anything about the bar and how ethics work. This is truly a very bad idea. Also, he could write about the erasure of bisexuality and probably stand out even more than gay candidates. Update. Thanks everyone for the advice. Both of us were busy with finals, so we agreed to not talk about it until we were finished, and most of our time together was just studying anyway. After our last finals yesterday, we sat down and talked. He said that he wasn't going to put that on his application, and that I didn't need to do anything like take any pictures down. He apologized and said that he was in the wrong to prioritize our relationship below something that would only give him a marginal advantage, if there is any advantage at all. We've been dating for 2 years, and he thinks that there is real potential for us to be the rest of our lives type thing. That should have taken priority. So that was good. Then I started asking him some questions along the lines of what I saw commenters say, and he was confused, then got angry. He correctly guessed that I'd posted on Reddit about it. He was really unhappy about that, but he said he'd pretend like that didn't happen as long as I don't do it again. So I guess this is my last time posting here. He said no to pretty much everything commenters suggested. Therapy, cutting contact with parents, but he did say that if there was a situation where he needed to choose between having a relationship with his parents and having a relationship with me, he would choose me. It wasn't everything that I was hoping for, but it's a good start. I'm hoping that I don't have to go through this again in the future. In the comments, Wani Wani says, Asian parents calling and never asking about your well-being, but only about your academic status? Been there. My son's bestie is Korean, and he used to lose it over the harsh Asian dad meme. You drink Sunny D? Why not Sunny A? Yeah, this isn't resolved. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and OP is the Titanic. Not a great update. I mean, epistemological erasure of bisexual identity would make a great application essay. Hell, he could write about this exact incident, considering lying about his sexual identity because he wasn't gay enough, and that would probably be a great essay. Ultimately, it seems like he lacks some amount of introspection. He probably needs that to write a really stellar essay. Instead, he'll just put some cookie-cutter bullshit that doesn't stand him out from the crowd at all. Unfortunate. Honestly, as an Asian American, I get where he's coming from, but at that point, just put "prefer not to say" on the race section of your application, or just write that standard milquetoast, "look how diverse I am, look how much I struggle to embrace my culture" essay that everyone hates writing, but admissions people love reading. Or hell, make up some shit about how you came to America not knowing a word of English, and you learned off the back of a cereal box or something. Don't be dumb enough to lie about something that can be easily disproven. People can sometimes tell you're Asian by your name, though. Then make it your strength. Write that super annoying essay about how you felt torn between two different worlds as a third culture kid that white people eat up for some reason. Our next post is by user Glitterbunny, titled, "He Still Has His Ex's Nudes." Am I in the wrong for feeling upset? This is my first relationship. It's one of them where you're basically together, but no labels. We go to different unis, so distance makes it hard, and other things too, like him lying about being on dating apps when we said that we were exclusive. Admittedly, I am an insecure person. I don't let it bother me on the daily, but when I see pictures of his ex, I hate myself. This started when he kinda would bring her up a lot. I thought that it was kinda weird, but they were together for 3 years. I found out her name through him talking about her, found her Instagram. She could be a Victoria's Secret model, and I'm not exaggerating. She is very beautiful. I'm not saying I'm ugly, but I'm definitely nowhere near her. She's an easy 10 out of 10. He said his friends would refer to him as the one with the fit bird. Not a fan of that language, but they're right. I'm a 6 out of 10, 7 on a good day. I'm not ugly, but I'm not beautiful. It upsets me a lot. It makes me feel very bad about myself. I've tried my hardest to get over it. He says he's done with her, but he still has all her pictures. They broke up well over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. He still has all the pictures, including her explicit pictures. I've now seen this woman's pictures, and yeah, I definitely hate myself now. Why does he still have her pictures? Am I crazy for being upset over this? Am I letting my insecurities get to me? Is this normal? I get having a few pictures for memory's sake, but to keep lewd pictures of the woman you claim that you feel nothing for? I don't know. All I do now is feel bad. Things are great with us. He is so funny and caring, and I feel comfortable with him. I don't feel comfortable with many people. For example, instead of going home, he stayed with me, went to the shops, and we cooked his home foods together to make sure I'd eat. And I know he really does care for me. He comforts me while I cry about my past father. He listens to me when I need to rant. He always seems excited to see me. So I think that it's just in my head. But if he really did love or like me, surely he would do all of those things, and he wouldn't want to wait till December, this has been going on since February, to put labels on it. But it's so hard to try and ignore his lying over the dating apps, how quickly he got with someone else when we split. He wasted no time, not even a week later, he was just with someone else. But fair enough because we weren't together, but it still hurts. It stings because he expressed how he loved me and he wouldn't. It made me doubt the genuineness of words going forth. It wouldn't have been that big of a deal if he didn't say such things. Like, yeah, it would sting, but I would get on with it. Because I do have feelings for him, and I'm a bit naive when it comes to relationships. And this thing with his gorgeous ex, I don't fear them getting back together. I think he is so beautiful, but she is way out of his league. I'll be so real, can't even call her a 10 out of 10, she's scale-breaking. She had always been pretty, but then she had the breakup glow. Think of Eastern European models. She could easily be one if she isn't already on her way. They're never getting back together, plus he tells me that it was a toxic relationship, and neither of them would ever want to get back together, and I stalked, she has a boyfriend. But I feel as though I'm not enough. If I was enough, then he wouldn't keep those types of pictures of her, or make a big deal about deleting them, like saying he can't be bothered. Here are some other red flags in retrospect. He tried to give me his ex's shirt to wear. He told me he loved me before we met in person, when we first met, and at random points throughout our time together. I feel as though he told me that specifically when things were ending between us, and I would stay because the idea of someone loving me is foreign, and I didn't think that it would happen to me. I met him on Hinge, lol. I caught him twice on dating apps. He said he wouldn't do it again the first time, and he was only doing it for a confidence boost. But he promised he would delete them, and then a week or so later, I found him still active on the apps. He would consistently mention other girls to make me jealous. He would waste my time, telling me to stay up so we could call, and then never calling me or making me stay up really late when I told him that I'd be very busy the next day. I asked him if he could at least text me if he isn't able to call, so I can do other things, or go to bed instead of staying up like an excited kid on Christmas Eve. Low-key fetishized my race and sexuality. I thought it was a joke, but he referenced both things a lot, to the point that it made me uncomfortable. I mentioned this to him, that I thought that it was weird, and I'm more than just bisexual and mixed black and white. Update. He claims he just hasn't gotten round to deleting them, but told me he deleted all the pics on her Snapchat, and he has loads of photos in his camera roll, so he doesn't see them. But in my opinion, he should have deleted them. Not even for my sake, but hers. Especially if he's already taken the time to delete them on Snap. I think it's weird to keep those kind of pictures of someone that you're no longer with and haven't spoken to in nearly 2 years. I don't think her or her boyfriend would appreciate him having them pictures. I know I certainly don't. I'm kicking him out and ending it this morning. He made me feel bad by saying I'm all he has, but I'm trying to respect myself and stick with it. I have a bad habit of taking him back when he upsets me because I tell myself that I'm being dramatic. But I don't feel respected, and with everyone reinforcing what I've been thinking, I do think it's time to get rid of him. I think it's just hard because he is a lot of my firsts. Lastly, I do agree that I need to work on my self-esteem, and I have. I've made tremendous growth compared to where I was. I can leave the house, I can entertain the idea of dating, I don't fixate on stupid, superficial things. I am a POC that grew up in very white areas in the 2000s to 2010s. Unfortunately, a lot of what I don't like about myself was instilled because I was different. I never saw representation of people who looked like me, like having very coily hair. I had this disgusting notion built into my head that because I'm mixed, I should at least have loose, soft curls and a lighter complexion and green-blue eyes. I hate that I ever thought that. It's so stupid. But now I wear my natural coily hair out. I don't have to try and cover up my face to try and hide it, and the fact that I can say I know I'm not ugly is substantial growth from my childhood to teen years. I'm actually extremely proud and thankful for my mixed heritage. Thank you all for your words. Update. I wanted him back. I have issues, I know, but he doesn't want me. That's it. In the comments, Pudding Idjit says, if he's on dating apps while in a committed relationship, then he's not committed. Many cheaters make their significant other feel special when they're around them. It's kind of manipulation. They also make their side pieces feel that way. As for the nudes, I think it's inappropriate for him to still have them after breaking up with her, much less while dating someone else. I know I would be creeped out to know that any of my exes were oogling at my nude pictures. Also, I don't really think he's over her as he wants you to believe. If he was, he wouldn't have those pictures. Speaking of, have you ever asked him to get rid of them? If he refused, big red flag. My advice to you would be to end the relationship. He does not respect you and doesn't deserve you. And OP says, I asked him to delete them when I found out. He deleted some and said he would do the rest later because there was a lot. He also said he's waiting to get a new phone. I don't know what year he's living in. In 2023, we have iCloud that transfers everything when you get a new phone, including the whole camera roll. I ended it and blocked him on everything. After reflecting and not having him physically with me, I'm quite disgusted. And now to the latest update, I told his ex. So I realized I had attachment issues, lol. I ended it, and then he was asking for us not to end, until he also agreed that we should not see each other anymore. But then, I didn't want it to end because I loved him, and also had low self-worth, thinking he would be the only person to love me. With retrospect, he didn't love me, he just liked talking, and, not exclusively, but mostly, he'd only really tell me he loved me when things were looking like they were going to end, or if I said it first. He's the type of person to tell you what you want to hear. Anyway, time passed, and I do still care for him, way more than I should, but my feelings for him have dwindled. I still miss him, but I don't love him. And I realized how effed up it truly is to have pictures of your ex, 17 to 20 years old, he's now 22, not saying that he's a pedo, but legally speaking, he did have child p on his phone. I gave him many lectures on how bad it is that he still had them. He gave stupid excuses like I can't be bothered, or I'm going to sort it when I get a new phone, as if iCloud doesn't exist. He is a liar. Someone who tells you what you want to hear. He just agreed with me to shut me up. I had a feeling he probably still had those pictures even after he said he'd delete them. Surprise, he did not. When we stopped seeing each other one time, I asked him to delete what he has of me, and he said he would. I come to find out he did not. Seems to be the thing that he does. I messaged his ex and told her that he still has all those pictures. A part of me did feel bad, because again I still care for him, and I knew in doing this he'd never talk to me again. So that was kinda sad, but I thought if it was me in her position, I would want someone to do the same for me. I also asked many females what I should do, and they all said, tell her, obviously. So I did. She told me how she asked him to delete all of her pictures when they broke up, and he said he would. This sounded very familiar. She thanked me for telling her. She called him and asked for a screen recording of him deleting everything, or she's calling his mum and letting her know what her son is up to. He eventually did. The gross thing is, he has 2 younger sisters. He tells me how scared he is for how they'll be treated by men when they grow up. He's scared they'll encounter men like himself, in my opinion. He was very angry with me, told me I was doing all of this out of spite. He tried to play the victim, which I found very pathetic, saying I didn't think this would blow up in my face again, and thanks for kicking me down lower than I already felt, as if he is the one who's been violated. Actions have consequences. I think he still thinks about her. I refer you to the fact that 1, he still had her pictures, 2, he tried to give me her shirt to wear, 3, he made her one of his playlist covers. When I told him that that was weird, he changed it, and 4, I had to ask him to stop talking about her. They were together for 3 years, and she's very beautiful, but 2 years had passed with no contact. She had very much moved on. why couldn't he? Anyways, I know it was the right thing to do. I'm going through waves of I'm glad I did it, and I'm sad he is hurt, but he is not the victim, and this was truly an eye-opening experience to who he really is. A little bit of a perv, collecting girls' explicit pictures as if they're Pokemon cards. I need to have better standards for myself. So I'm going on a date in a couple days. I met this guy at Wireless in the summer. Nothing happened. I've only met him once because he went to America for his placement year, and I was in a stupid on-again, off-again prolonged situationship with the pictures of girls collecting guy. But he's back in the UK for Christmas. He is so wholesome and cute and funny. I'm punching for real, but he approached me? Crazy. And he's so sweet. He doesn't ask me for pictures, he doesn't want to have sex straight away, he'd rather build towards it, which makes me happy because I want the same thing. We're gonna see Christmas lights, have matcha lattes, food, and then I'm gonna ask him if he wants to stay around mine so we can watch movies. He's very respectful, optimistic, and caring. He has sunflower energy. Also, he's good and doesn't drink or smoke, etc. I'm sober now, and being around someone who does that stuff is hard. In the comments, Sorchochka says, I am so glad I'm no longer in my early 20s. I hope she comes through this bad boyfriend stage with a much shinier spine. I'm encouraged by her telling the ex about the pictures. Still don't understand what she even saw in this relationship. Matter of fact, she said it herself. They are not in a relationship. First sentence. She was just naive. Happens all the time. The fact that she commingled very scary red flags with I met him on Hinge reveals that she had absolutely no idea what she was doing. And to be fair, how many of us can say that we didn't ignore a few red flags in our first serious relationship? When I look back at the people that I dated in college, I try to remind myself that most people's brains aren't finished developing until their mid-20s, and that I hadn't been to therapy yet. I know I certainly did. My first was a boulevard of red flags, and because I was still young and dumb and not in therapy, I then dated one that was a communist parade, and stupidly married his abusive ass. Man, OP's self-esteem is so low. She really needs to work on herself before getting into a relationship. She said she grew up in a majority white area, and it makes you wonder if her parents ever told her she was beautiful and they love her. It's just overall so sad. My relationship started as a prank, and now I don't know what to do. I have 5 friends, 2 female and 3 male, all in their early 20s, and they've been annoying me for some time about being single. I have never had a girlfriend, and I was the one who got made fun of the most for being single. Usually their jokes were lighthearted, but on occasions they were not. Some of their jokes were really low, but I let them slide because we were friends, although I never forgot them. They were more like insults to me, but I never showed it. About 2 months ago, they introduced me to a girl. Let's call her Emily, and we became friends pretty quickly. Soon we discovered that we have a few things in common, so our friendship turned into a relationship. Considering we were early into the relationship, things felt a bit weird for me. We bonded really quickly, and we enjoyed spending time together. 2 or 3 days ago, I went out with 2 of my friends. We were having fun talking about stuff until one of them asked me why Emily hadn't dumped me yet. I asked him what that was supposed to mean, and he told me that our relationship is a joke/prank. I asked him to explain, and he told me that all 5 of them were on board to prank me by having Emily play the role of being my girlfriend for about a week before dumping me. That was the plan originally, to which Emily agreed. That didn't go as they planned, and they then thought that she might pretend to be my girlfriend a bit longer before eventually dumping me. That also didn't happen, and Emily stopped hanging out with them. She pretty much cut them off from her life after we started dating. We got into a verbal fight that lasted some time, led nowhere, so I called them assholes and left. To say the least, I was really angry, and I called Emily immediately after leaving them to talk to her about this. When we met, she wanted to hug me, which I denied, and I didn't wait for a single second before asking her about this stupid prank. She became pale on the spot and started crying and apologizing for it. She admitted almost immediately that she was indeed on board with that, But she also said that she dropped the prank entirely and decided to stay because she genuinely likes me. She likes that I treat her with respect, trust, and kindness. I asked when she was planning on telling me this, and she told me that she didn't know when or how to even say it. She said that she doesn't want to play with people's emotions, and that even agreeing to this was so wrong. But in hindsight, it turned out good because she met me. That's why she hid it from me. Our conversation didn't last long, and I went home. I blocked all my friends on all accounts, numbers, everything. I don't want to see them again. I don't know what to do with Emily. She keeps sending apologies, asking me not to break up, and that she'll make up for it. I don't know what to do. If she lied and manipulated me into this, what will she lie or manipulate me into tomorrow? I would find this entire situation comical if it weren't happening to me. Right now, I'm so disappointed in everything, mostly in myself. In the comments, Time Constraints says, "Keep and love Emily. Ditch the friends. They are assholes." OP says, "Already ditched them. Friends since we were 4 to 5 years old, and this is what I get? So cruel." Emily is a keeper. She dumped your loser friends way before you cottoned on to them. You need to treat yourself better and surround yourself with good people like Emily and not losers like them. OP says, "But how do I trust her from now on?" My advice from a random stranger who holds a grudge and hates people in general? I'm a woman, by the way. Give her a chance if you really like her and let her show you she is who she says she is. I don't care what they all say, no girl's going to pretend to date a guy that she doesn't genuinely like. Why would she? What's in it for her? She liked you, she didn't dump you, and she got rid of your friends immediately. Love and relationships are a gamble. You can't really trust anyone, but some are worth the chance. OP says, "I think she deserves a second chance. I usually don't believe in second chances, but at least she didn't deny it or lie. She told the truth without me pressuring her. I guess it's worth a shot." Bella Zale says, "I mean, I would definitely dump the friends for good, but now that everything is out, I'd be willing to at least try with Emily and see what happens." Considering she completely cut off the friends, I can actually believe that she was having a hard time telling the truth because she actually wants to be with you. That's not out of the ballpark here, so trying a fresh start could be good. That being said, I wouldn't blame you for walking away either. It's all awful. And OP replies, "Maybe I should give her another chance. At least she didn't deny it. She also told the truth without me pressuring her. Emily agreeing to play a part in this cruel prank is bad, but not coming clean with you about it after she changed her mind is entirely understandable. It's embarrassing. More importantly, how the hell do you say that? From your narrative, she seems genuinely to be contrite and cares about you. You'd be a fool to throw that away. If you agree to do something but then change your mind and not do it, that's the ideal outcome, isn't it? You didn't do anything bad. Everyone has bad ideas. It's how you act on them that makes you an asshole. She had a bad idea, sure, but she chose not to do it." This is reminding me of that story where OP goes out to lunch with friends and they're like, "Oh, are you going to tell your wife about why you decided to date her in the first place and how you didn't actually like her? You were just really good mates with her dad and he put you guys together and you decided to climb the company corporate ladder because of that? How your entire life, your success and money impinged upon this fake relationship you started with your wife in order to climb and be successful? Yeah, when are you going to tell your wife about the lie that is the foundation of your relationship with her?" That story is very much ringing in my head right now, and understandably, people are very split about these issues. Yes, OP, your relationship did start as a prank, but I think Emily did everything right here. I can understand why she didn't say anything to you because, I don't know, if it's one of those things that doesn't have to be said, maybe you can avoid it forever and eventually it'll come up as a joke one day when you're past the point of those friends being in your life anymore. I can understand why she did it. It's not an excuse, but I can see the rationale. Overall, I think Emily's choices are more good than bad overall. So I'd say she's in the clear, and I would urge you guys to continue the relationship. And now, onto the update. My original post blew up, which I didn't expect. Thank you all for reading and sharing your advice and opinions. I had a proper talk with Emily, and I just wanted to share what I learned and how I will proceed forward. She had been sad for the past 2 or 3 days, pretty much since I confronted her with the truth. She apologized again and hoped that I would give her another chance so she could prove to me that she is a good person and that she will do everything to make up for her mistake. I didn't speak much during this conversation. I mostly let her talk. However, I'm not a complete idiot, and as some of you pointed out, what would have happened if she didn't like me, if she proceeded with all that nonsense? So I asked her, and, to say the least, she was horrified. She was speechless. I asked her what the end goal would have been if she didn't like me, playing with people's feelings before discarding and throwing them away like they're trash. She kept crying and said that she didn't know. She had no answer to what she would have done in that case. I told her that she really should think things through before doing them, because this time she had luck on her side, and next time she will have to bear the consequences of her actions. She admitted that it was a really bad decision and that she should have known better. She cried again, and she seemed embarrassed, perhaps because all of that probably showed her in a really bad light, something she didn't want. In any case, she seemed really sincere, so I let it go. I told her that I would give us another chance, but under certain conditions: honesty, loyalty, and openness. If we encounter any problems, I want an open and honest conversation. We will also start from the ground up, and she will have to earn trust. She agreed to all of them and promised to do even more. She was really happy, and I don't recall seeing somebody so happy in a while. I don't know who the real Emily is. We've known each other for a short period of time, so I guess I'll soon find out who she actually is. Some of you said that I should ditch her too. I thought about it, and I might sound selfish, but I have nothing to lose here, so I will risk it. I have never had a girlfriend or been in a proper relationship, so this could be a good learning experience. To me, this is a win-win scenario. If it fails, it fails. I tried my best. If it succeeds, even better. I have a girlfriend. Edit: I forgot to include this in my post, but based on what I heard yesterday and today, not all of them were actually on board with pranking me like this. While they all initially agreed on the prank, it wasn't supposed to unfold the way that it did. The 2 individuals mentioned in the first post essentially pressured the others into participating, and those 2 didn't have anything good in mind for me. The rest simply went along with it, which doesn't make them innocent either, especially since this has been happening for weeks without any of them saying anything. Now they're basically shifting the blame to each other just to make themselves look better. In the comments, GoldenHind124 says, "I'm curious, but what is her relationship with your former friends? What's her plan with them?" And OP says, "From what I learned yesterday and today, as I mentioned in the edit, 2 assholes from the first post took the lead on this stupid prank and pressured the others to participate. I don't plan on playing detective to figure out who is telling the truth. I know that I have no intentions of ever speaking or seeing those 2 again. As for the others, I guess time will tell. If they show genuine remorse, then I might stay in contact." OP adds more context. Early 20s, 2 guys pushed this shit show. I guess the idea was to give me hope or some taste of what relationships are. They maybe thought that I'll get emotionally invested immediately, that I'll be clingy. Honestly, no clue. The more I think about it, the more I realize how stupid and messed up it is. Istara says, "The ages of the people involved in this, and the length of time they've all known one another, makes this utterly effing weird." I don't know. It sounds like they've been assholes to him for a long time, and he's only just realized they're not his friends. I thought it might be the opposite. He knew that they were assholes and might join in on it himself, but they'd never turned it on him before. Shocked that the face-eating leopards ate his face, as it were. Nah, he stated his friends were always jerks to him, but he just thought that's how friendships go. I've been in groups like that. And especially with friend groups that have more males in them, roasting is acceptable behavior and the lines can get blurry. I was the butt of the joke in a previous friend group, and when you've been that for so long, you don't question it until something really messed up happens, or you make friends outside the group and realize people don't have to laugh at you to be your friend. Yeah, something that hits home. Hell yeah, let's go. Sad that he went such a long time with these people that did not like him, and people that would not stand up for him to others in the group. Sorry to say, but those friends that went along with it and didn't mention to OP that this was a prank to him are just as bad as those leading the charge. It's just insane how wrapped up you can get in friend groups that are not good for you, that are actively preying on your downfall and putting plans in motion one step at a time to actually derail you emotionally. Like, that is so cruel what these people did to him. I'm very much glad that Emily wasn't that person and didn't go along with it and it instantly cut them off. But at the same time, I can see where those of you who in the comments will say, I don't know how he could trust Emily again, that foundation was rotten, and she will do something again in the future because it started on a lie, she will lie again, she will hurt him. I personally think that reality and this situation is a little more nuanced, and I feel like she has redeemed herself here. I think she is worthy of redemption and forgiveness, but I can see where people as well come from saying that no, you should break up with her, you shouldn't trust her again. And let me reiterate that we have established that I know Jack and shit, and Jack has once again left town. But I'd love to know what you guys think of this. Are you more big-brained than me? Have you extrapolated the situation further into space than I already did? Let me know. Our next post is by user BoringGeneral7902, titled, Am I the asshole here for getting upset with my family for using money that was meant for my college to fund present and future medical costs? I am 17. I am the youngest of 4. The age gap between our mother and father was fairly large. Our mother passed away from cancer back in 2019. Each of my siblings had their entire college tuition paid in full. Now, because our father has fallen ill, my siblings have taken it upon themselves to make sure that all of our father's money goes towards his present and future medical costs. Turns out my father made the oldest his power of attorney, and my brother's logic is I can borrow money to go to school, but borrowing money for medical care is not as easy. I understand this, but I still find it unfair, especially because all of my siblings make good money. Each of them are driving 100k plus cars. I got upset with my siblings, calling them a bunch of names because they could afford to pay for the care of our father's needs. Yet they don't, and would rather screw up my future. Am I the asshole for snapping and feeling as if my siblings are screwing me over? Edit, for clarity, the money is not part of a college fund or anything like that. It was just money that was saved and set aside for me. Each of us also had the same amount, 150k. Their 150k did go much farther being older and college being much cheaper, but that's a different topic. In the comments, your dad can revoke the power of attorney. And OP says, don't think he can since it is a springing POA, whatever that means, the way my dad explained it to me. It appears that he did try. Our old man has a bunch of medical issues, but due to a traumatic brain injury, he was diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment. I have spoken to them with our dad present, and our dad told them he would want to use the money for my college. But they said that it's not in his best interest because then he will have less to fund his own medical costs. It appears as a power of attorney, it is his duty to do what is in the best interest of our father, and covering medical costs appears to trump paying for my college, even if that is what he wishes. You could try a lawyer. OP says, yeah, my old man spoke with a lawyer when he found out what they were doing, and he was told roughly trying to revoke it would be rough, especially when the one appointed is doing what is in the best interest of my father. Edit, I know not much can be done. I don't know, I probably just made the post for some level of validation that I'm not a complete and total asshole for how I feel. Sadly, he did speak with a lawyer about this, and the lawyer said that my brother could fight it because unfortunately the choice to take money away from his own care to give to me for college could be argued to not be in his best interest and does a lack of understanding about his condition. The fact it is already active makes it hard to revoke it without good cause. Selling a car is objectively easier than a loan. OP says, I brought this up, but they just brushed it off, saying that our father should use his money to fund his medical costs for as long as possible. I get the mindset, but why go against what our father wished? He wants to use the money to cover my college education. They took that away from him and myself, all because they do not want to use their own money to cover our dad's medical costs. They can show how magnanimous they are with their wallets. And OP says, I doubt they'll do that. They'll just throw it back in my face who will fund our dad's care. I don't know why not, you guys. It's not like you're poor. I'll just be called selfish and told that I can borrow money for school. They cannot borrow towards for their own retirement, and our dad cannot borrow for his medical expenses when he has no way to pay it back. We'll most likely never speak to these Fs again. Well, you can do community college and then transfer. And OP says, true, I did get into some good schools. I am a year ahead, but I can take 1 year off to figure out my next steps. I'll speak with our college advisor and see what's up. Yeah, to me it kind of just sounds like they are absolutely screwing OP over and waiting for him to die much sooner so they can divvy up that 150k and put it towards themselves once again instead of letting OP have the money. These guys got to make use of good economic situations, so now they're going to pull the ladder up and kick OP in the face as she's falling down. Real stand-up individuals. You know, when it comes to the death of a family member, people become absolute pieces of shit, and these people are no exceptions. They are cold, heartless assholes. The death of a family member makes people into absolute demons with no care for anyone else. It's so sad that the coming death of a family member, dad's not even dead yet, has already caused them to team up and come out of the woodwork as the absolute devils they are. It's sad that good cause in this situation for revoking the power of attorney can't be that the dad thinks that OP's future is more important than his future because he's dying. I feel like that's good cause enough, but I'm not a lawyer. This is just such a sad situation because OP is genuinely powerless. I don't think there is anything you can do but sit and watch as all opportunities that were set up for you are now stripped away from you. And now, on to the updates. Thank you for the replies. I did want to clear up one thing since, for whatever reason, people are thinking I don't care about my father being ill. Of course I do. This is not about that. If my siblings did not have the means, albeit with some sacrifice, to cover our father's medical expenses, I would not be here. I would understand that his care comes first. They can afford it. Each of them makes very good money. Hell, the oldest himself owns over 7 multi-unit properties. He could most likely afford to cover the care himself without feeling it too much. This is why I'm upset. Even our father is upset because he thought my older brother would understand that what he wants most in life is for all of us to be happy and successful. Please do not think that I am not upset that my father is ill. I am. But this post is not about my father's illness. Thank you for all the suggestions. I will try one more time to have my father and our family sit in front of his lawyer to see what can be done. My father has already spoken with one, and he has told me that it would be an uphill battle due to his medical issues, not exactly being something that do get better, but more so ebbs and flows. So the likelihood of his care levels increasing as time goes on is extremely likely. Even still, I will see if we can come to some agreement. Maybe not pay for everything, maybe just earn Mark 2 years' worth. Or provide me a zero-interest loan against our father's assets. If not, I will speak to my school's college advisor and see what can be done. This is in my final year in school, just hit 17, so I can take the next year off to figure out what can be done. I do have money that I've saved up from my job, so I can afford 2 years of community college, and hopefully with my AP credit, that will lower the cost even further. I just have to speak with the advisor and see if that is the best course of action, or if I should just take the classes to pad out the GPA and transcript. I also know that I'm not entitled to my father's money. The difference is that this is what my father also wants. We're annoyed because my older brother may be within his legal right to do what he is doing, but it hurts because he's also going against the wishes of our father. Either way, thanks for the information and advice. In the comments, how close are you and your siblings? OP says, wouldn't say exactly close. The age gap between us from oldest to youngest is 25 to 15 years. We grew up vastly different lives. If I had the means, of course, I would pay them back, and I would also help pay for our father's care. Splitting the costs across all of us just makes sense. Your dad living is more important. And OP says, I do care about my father. The thing is, this post is not about my father. If my family did not have the means, I would understand. But they do 100% have the means. Would it mean cutting back on stuff? Most likely, but they wouldn't go broke, even more so if they split it between the 3 of them. Each of them do very well for themselves. We do not have to live in the world where our father does not get care, and I do not get the same opportunity that they had. This is also why my father is upset. He has other means to cover medical costs, the house, LTC insurance, other investments. My oldest sibling is just trying to min-max our father's money so it lasts as long as humanly possible. I understand, but it still sucks. Similar Shame says, what the actual fuck? Those siblings are screwing over their youngest sibling because they don't want to have to touch their own rental properties? Jesus effing Christ, I hope they go broke. Rental properties they probably only have been able to afford so early in life because they had no college debt or loans. They all got $150K. $150K 30 years ago is much more than now. The way he's choosing to do that is disgusting, seriously. Money and the high cost of parental care often brings out the worst in people. The homes my mum was in before she passed, my sister and I were told repeatedly that we were the unicorns because we never argued about the cost of her care, never bickered over our inheritance, and they never had to referee or pull us physically apart while fighting. I witnessed a couple of doozies while visiting mum. People trying to limit necessary medical care for mum and dad in order to give themselves more money later. Yikes. We could have had a significantly higher inheritance if we had stuck my granduncle in a worse home. But having him be happy and well cared for, honestly, it was such a kind place, with a boss who cared and great staff for the last years of his life was so much more important. OP's siblings be like, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, just like we did, with the incidental help of $150K each from dad, but you don't need that. Honestly, I get her frustration. She's dealing with her dad being ill, and now the security she thought she'd have is gone. It's a horrible situation to be in. And she was 12 when her mum died, which is a lot of loss already to deal with. Dad 100% effed up. It may actually be where the power of attorney brother can't spend the money on college for the youngest once she turns 18. What dad should have done was put exactly $150,000 in trust for the youngest, for college, and then done the power of attorney. But if he's getting any sort of government medical, it might affect it to give money away like that once the child is 18. Again, yet another story that is highly nuanced and very sad because I put $150K into a calculator just then, and 30 years ago, that was actually worth $330K in today's money. Which is insane because $150K is very generous, but I can't imagine getting $330K towards college education today. That's so much money. Not to mention that on top of that, OP's mum's already dead and OP's dad is going to die, and that's shocking enough. But now your siblings are cutting you out of their lives, essentially. Why would you stick around with these people if they're intentionally screwing you over? They're complicit in this. OP's going from a family that was sticking together and being strong, relatively stable, to losing both her parents and essentially Maybe being cut off entirely from the rest of her family and support network that are closest to her. Having to deal with that going on 18 years old is far too much. That is so stressful. My heart pours out for you, OP. I can't imagine the stress that you are dealing with right now. I feel so bad for you. I genuinely hope that everything sorts itself out, that you do get the money that your dad wants you to get so that you can set your future up. But it's really not looking likely, and I'm so sad about that. Am I the asshole for wanting a divorce because of a surname? My wife and I had difficulties in conceiving due to an accident I had when I was younger. After 3 years, we finally had our daughter 3 weeks ago. Baby and mum are home and healthy, but I've been on the couch due to an issue over the surname. My wife was previously in a long-term relationship with her ex, who committed suicide due to mental health issues after he returned from service abroad. Her first son from her first relationship lives with us and is 12 months in a month's time. Her son has her ex's surname. She wants our baby to have the ex's surname so that her son doesn't feel left out from his new sibling and future siblings, and because she had a better name than mine. I tried to compromise by saying since I practically raised her son, he can have my surname. That way he won't feel left out, and she can take mine too. She said no, as he had his name all his life and shouldn't have to change it to appease me. I tried to explain that they have 2 separate fathers, so it's natural that they have different names. I suggested she use her maiden surname and hyphenate it with mine for our baby, and she can hyphenate her maiden name with her ex's for her son. That way the siblings will have almost the same name, and that was turned down too. We have to register the baby's name next Thursday. I told her that we should probably get couples therapy, and in the meantime register her with my name. She turned that down too, and said she went through the trouble of carrying her and pushing her out, and she should get to decide this on her own. I even asked her son, and he said that he doesn't mind having separate names, as he knows his father was his father, but I am his dad. He doesn't care if his sister has a different surname. I told my wife this, and she said that I'm emotionally manipulating her son. We had an argument 5 days ago, and haven't spoken much. I didn't want to continue like this, as this should be one of our happiest moments. 2 days ago, I told her that the baby either gets my surname, or we are getting a divorce. I told her that perhaps her dead husband could help raise our daughter with her, since she doesn't want to acknowledge me as the dad. She called me a manipulator and said that it's not fair that she doesn't get to decide the baby's first name on her own, or the surname. Her suggestions for the first name when she was pregnant were feminine versions of her ex's name. Think Alexis, Alexia, Alexandra for Alexander, and his actual name if we had a boy. Today I called a solicitor, and she overheard me. She's telling me that I'm forcing her into a corner with this name thing, even though we went with her choice of first name after I sifted out the one similar to her ex's, and my choice as a middle name. I just want some outside opinions on whether I'm doing the right thing. Like, what am I doing with my life anymore? It is so messed up. In the comments, not the asshole. She is stuck on her ex-husband. She is not over him. She is manipulating you. Whatever she has going on, it seems she's not fully committed to your relationship, and these things will continue to happen. Either she acknowledges that what she is asking is ridiculous, the child is not the child of her son's father. What she is asking for is very hurtful to you as the father. It seems that she would rather have had him as the father, and that is very disrespectful. Let her understand that you are serious about your decision, and it doesn't seem too much at this point. Naming my child some other person's first and last name is a deal breaker, and really weird and strange. She needs therapy. She's literally bringing her deceased ex into the continuation of her life and between her and OP. There is no place for OP. He is barely a vague replacement for the deceased. If she had succeeded in naming their girl according to her will, let's say Alexandra when the deceased's name was Alexander, and giving her the surname, the kid would appear more like the deceased's one or his tribute. It isn't a role for this kid. She needs to consider her baby girl as a human being who is not linked to her ex. I can't imagine the feeling of growing up with the surname of a man that isn't my dad and present when mine is raising me. The maiden name was an interesting alternative. Not the asshole. It's weird that she wants to give your daughter her dead ex's last name. It also sounds like she has unresolved issues with his death that she isn't dealing with very well. She needs therapy. Honestly, I agree. This would be an absolutely earth-shattering deal breaker for me. Genuinely, the audacity of her to ask for the deceased ex's surname when you're right here. It'd be absolutely okay to ask for your surname as the mother. We can break a little bit of traditional naming customs, but to ask for your deceased ex's surname for my child? Someone that has absolutely no relation to this one coming into the world? Unless she's going through postpartum depression, this is just acting out. You're gonna go to marriage counseling, couples therapy, and talk this one out. That's divorce-worthy right there. Like, this was never a thing this whole time that you've been carrying the baby. You've never communicated the desire to name our child after your deceased ex, both first and last name, and you're just gonna drop this bomb on me? Absolutely not. Divorce, not the asshole. And now for the update. A quick update is my DMs were full of requests. From the advice given on here, I contacted the registration office, and they told me that as long as you are married, only one parent is needed for the name registration. I wanted to appeal to her better nature, and got her, mine, and her ex's parents involved. Her sister tagged along for this mediation/discussion. Turns out my parents, and my 3 siblings via group chat, are the only ones that agreed with me on either my surname or her maiden name. Her parents and sister, also her other siblings via group chat, agreed with her, saying I should do it as she was the one that carried her. Surprisingly, her ex's parents thought that it would be a nice gesture to name my daughter with their surname, and to my shock, revealed the first name that I agreed to was her suggestion, which wasn't a female variant of her ex's, was the name her ex wanted to name their child if they had had a girl instead. She blushed when that piece of information got out when I called her out on it. I asked her if that would be fair to name our daughter after one of my exes, to which she replied that I only had a body count of 3, and those 2 had the same name, and both names were ugly. When everyone left, I tried to reason with her, but she slammed the bedroom door in my face and locked it. During the discussion with the parents, I tried asking her ex's parents if they would be okay with me naming their grandson after me after I adopt him, and they said they would never allow either adoption or name change. When I asked them if it was fair for my daughter to have their name, they said they felt their grandson was closer to his sister than I was to her as a father, and both should have the same surname. They also ridiculed my choice in both first and middle name for my daughter in addition to my surname. This is a couple that I, up until that point, had a reasonably good relationship with. I raised their grandson as my own, and was very surprised that this is how they felt about me. In the morning, she didn't come out, and I left her breakfast by the door, hoping that she would calm down enough by the time we would register to discuss it as adults. A few of her friends phoned and asked me why it was so important for me in the year of 2023 to give my surname to my child. I explained my side and why I had reservations. They still felt that I was being unreasonable. On the Tuesday before the name appointment, Thursday, she picked a fight with me and said she was going with her original name, female version of her ex. She went as far as saying that she would rather unalive herself than give her daughter my name. So I'm a little ashamed about this, but as I pictured that she would no longer be in my future, I called the police on her, saying she threatened to commit unaliving. I am not proud of this. They came and took her despite her protesting that she was okay, and it was only said in the heat of the moment. I guess I egged on the police, telling them that it could be postpartum depression, and that I felt it was not safe for her to be around our baby. I registered the name with my own without her blessing or participation. She was still not released by then. Our daughter's first, middle, and surname are all chosen by me. She obviously has some unresolved issues, and I hope she gets the help that she needs. There is something seriously wrong with her, as she instructed her ex's parents to collect her son and my daughter to look after via her sister until she could get out. When her ex's parents came by and tried to take the baby, I told them to F off. They threatened me with the police, and I told them to go ahead. So they left with their grandson. Her parents came by during the weekend and wanted to take the baby to her, telling me not to be difficult. I told them no. We had a visit by a health visitor and the midwife. When she was released, she didn't come home and went to her parents. She's been there since, although she tried twice to take the baby from me, though I changed the locks. She did drop off expressed milk for the baby and has continued to do so via her sister. I contacted a solicitor for the divorce, and for now I'm keeping the baby, as even the health visitor said that social services are going to get involved due to her mental state, and I am the better option for care for now. There is no saving my marriage, and I doubt she ever loved me with the other things that have come out since then. I will always love her son and hold out hope that someday when he's old enough to make his own decisions, he will seek me out. But as my solicitor put it, don't hold your breath for that to happen. My older brother and his wife are staying with me to help out for now. Their children are all teens, and they've done this new baby thing 5 times, and all their children made it to teenhood, so I'm listening to all of their advice. So there it is. In the comments, Happy Sparkly Unicorn says, "This is super messy. I'm curious though, do you resemble the ex? Because it sounds like you're a placeholder for him. She's keeping his name, wants the new kid named after him with his surname. It just sounds like she's not over him." OP says, "Yes, I do resemble him, but not like a clone." Yikes. People have types. This is not unusual. This is really unusual for me. I hate this. What is this? True, but this doesn't sound like she's with OP solely because he's her type. It's way too messy, especially with this fiasco surrounding the kid, and now that we know OP and the ex are similar. It just feels like she expects him to be her ex, and OP is only a placeholder. Still not the asshole 100%. I still can't believe that both her parents and her ex's parents are okay with your soon-to-be ex-wife wanting to name your daughter after a dead man instead of your surname. I do feel bad about the boy. He is losing the only father figure willing to be in his life over his mum and both his grandparents not respecting you as the father of both children. I do hope that you get some form of custody or visitation with him after the divorce. OP, how did you convince the police to take her, and where did they take her? OP replies, the police make that call depending on the situation. First time I've seen that happen. They asked me if I thought I could support her, or if I thought that she might succeed if I went to take a shower or something, and I said no. They took her to a cell overnight, but the next morning she was taken to a mental health assessment. I think she was seen by a psychiatrist, but she changed her next of kin from me to her sister, despite us being married. They might have suspected that she was a danger to herself, because they kept her that whole day and night after the psychiatrist reviewed her. I don't know what they did, as I wasn't there, and when I phoned to check up on her, they said they couldn't give me that information. Other commenters ask about the decision on phoning the police and having the wife sent to a mental institution to get evaluated, and OP says, I did that when she threatened to unalive herself. It was not my call, but one the police made. She was released, but will get follow-up help with her issues. In the UK, an individual can't do it. The authorities make the decision. I feel like I'm insane because it was glazed over every step of the way, and I didn't find any comments about it in my initial scrolling. Multiple times, does OP state that his wife and stepson took the late ex's name years after he died, while OP and the wife were in a relationship? Is this something that's done? That I've just never heard of? And unless my reading comprehension is abysmal, she fully renamed her son after him. Like if her late husband's name was Alexander Allen Smith and her son's name was Austin Andrew Smith, the son is now legally Austin Alexandra Andrew Allen Smith, and she wants the daughter to be named Alexandria Smith. The name she and the late husband originally planned on using for a girl was the consolation name, but she really wanted his name in a feminine form? The groundwork was laid years ago. It feels like she saw stability with OP and tried to nip the name stuff in the bud before she married him. This would feel like PPD if it wasn't so premeditated, though they're not mutually exclusive. Look, I glossed over that one too, and if that's the case where she just inserted the full ex's name into that child's middle name, that's even more insane. What is going on? Do people really do this? I actually need to know if people do this. I don't blame you for calling the cops on her and getting her admitted OP because, oh my god. But at the same time, surely she's just going to drag you through the courts after this. Like, either way that this went, this was going to be a lengthy legal battle of just throwing shit at each other. But I can't imagine it's going to be a fun time for either of you until these kids are 18. I feel so bad for you, OP. I genuinely hope that life gets better. Chin up, mate. Oh my god.